Ladies and gentlemen, if you haven't read One Piece Chapter 1138, then turn back now, because not only am I going to be spoiling Chapter 1138 for you, but I may be spoiling the entire history of One Piece. Because Oda in Chapter 1138 dropped one of the, if not the, craziest panel in the history of One Piece, at least in my 8-year tenure of reading One Piece. So today we're going to be breaking this down in its entirety, going through every part of this mural, who's who, what's what's happening, what happened in the first world, second world, and third world. We're just going to be breaking it all down. And to help me do that, I have Always Sunny in Enies Lobby and Commodore Laz with me, and I have an open invite to some other creators so they may join in. But boys, wasn't this the craziest chapter we've ever had?
It's up there, man. It's up there. There's been some chapters we read throughout the series where you're just like, you've lost for words. This is definitely up there with them ones, man. Like, just, especially when you look at like Frankie, like basically just putting it together for us, man. Like when we're seeing all this around, it's like, bro, like I can't believe, like I'm seeing Lord of the Rings in One Piece.
No, I totally agree with that. I always tell my friends that aren't One Piece fans that like Oda is like his own version of like Lord of the Rings level quality of lore, you know? Like it's just that good. And then Elbaf has just been hitting different, you know?
I couldn't agree more. This Elbaf is off to an amazing start, and it got even better with this chapter. But what I want to start with, because the official had a big difference from the TCB version, were the kind of the first world, second world, third world descriptions. And so these are the official translations. I just took them and used my own font to again avoid copyright. So hopefully we're good there. But for the first world, I thought this was a lot clearer as to what is actually happening. And it says, within the earth, there was fire. Mankind succumbed to greed and touched the forbidden sun, which would make me think that the sun that's within the earth, you know, the core of the earth. The enslaved prayed, and the sun god appeared. The earth god raged, and with its serpent of hellfire, I misspelled that, but who cares, shrouded the world in death and darkness, and they will never meet. And so I don't want to go ahead and pull up the TCB one because I don't have it, but I think you guys, you know, probably heard it and know it decently. Yeah. This one's a lot clearer, I think. Whenever it says there was serpent of hellfire, you know, the earth had the forbidden sun and all that stuff. Well, look, there's these people going down this like elevator shaft into probably what is the core of the earth, right?
Yep.
So it's like what they were saying in the first world part here. Within the earth there was fire. Mankind succumbed to greed and touched the forbidden sun. Well, that's why there's like a conveyor belt of people going down to the bottom. Is like they're touching the forbidden sun, and it looks like they're almost bringing power up, right? And giving it to this city, which we'll talk more about because I have a lot of thoughts on that. But the serpent of hellfire shrouded the world in death and darkness. It's like this whole right side is that description.
Yes. I'm definitely getting Pluton vibes from the first part, because who do you think the Earth God is? I mean, he's god of the underworld. They're going to the molten core, you know?
That's where it's interesting, because if I look at Frankie's placement, that's what I was kind of wondering about in the mural, right? Because the left side, you could see that Shirahoshi and them, obviously, and then the right side, which I was assuming would have to be Uranus that's there, right? So, because the way that I looked at it, originally in the chapter, I thought, like, the middle part right there, Dak, with the tree, I thought that was the second world. But in actuality, I think what it is that the tree is kind of splitting things, where it's like we're seeing the first world, and the left side is the second world. The third world is what we're experiencing right now at this current time. So obviously they're not going to show you because we haven't gone there yet, right? Yep. So, but from the look of it there, I think Pluton is right where Frankie is, and I think there's going to be some significance there where it's like he actually has a role to play in all this, because the fact, like, again, he was the person who had the blueprints originally before.
Right.
He got rid of them, but if you still, like, you know, we've gone to school and stuff. If you remember something from the test or whatever, it's going to stay in your mind, and you never know how long that's going to stay in there. Yeah. So even if he doesn't have 100% of the stuff, you have some of the stuff, so you are capable of possibly, even if you won't make a Pluton, you can enhance 1,000 Sunny into its own version of Pluton, which is why I think it's so important that we have the Adam's Wood there for him to go through his creations or whatever he needed to be able to prepare the Sunny for the eventual battle of Pluton, which I think Blackbeard is what he's going after in Wano.
Yeah, because a lot, you know, Always Sunny, I think, mentioned this right whenever we joined before the stream, but, you know, Frankie could be blocking something. Right, like he's very hiding, and if he's hiding something, it would be Pluton related in my mind. That would make the most sense because of his kind of story, right? And I also got to say, you know, we met Emeth before, which I don't have this panel pulled up, unfortunately, but in the chapter, you remember how, like, before we saw the mural, Frankie got, like, a glimpse of a couple parts of the mural, and it was 3 parts, and one is definitely Poseidon, and we didn't know what the other... The other 2, one looks like Emeth, and one is the thing above Emeth.
Yeah.
Well, in my mind, it would make a lot of sense that those are stand-ins for the ancient weapons, especially if one is Poseidon, right?
Yeah.
And so then you're like, well, what's Pluton? What's Uranus? Well, I think Emeth could be the stand-in for Pluton, not because he actually is it, but he might run on the same power that Pluton does. And you got to think, like, Frankie is the next coming of Emeth in a lot of ways. Like, Frankie even has horns now because of his outfit, right? And he's obviously a cyborg and everything. So if there was a Straw Hat, like since he is like the new Emeth, if there was one person on Joy Boy's crew to tie to Pluton, it should be Emeth, given the Frankie and Emeth connection. So I think that could be a Pluton foreshadow in some way. It might just be the power source. But then that means the thing above Emeth there should be Uranus, the thing to the right of the whale, which I don't really have a good guess for that. It reminds me of Sulong, but I don't know why that would. I mean, the moon, I guess, maybe is the tie-in there. Something with the moon.
Because that's what it looks like the arc maxim in some ways or whatever in between it, which is telling there because obviously like we have yet to see like a lot of like airships or just ships in general that like are in the skies and everything, right? So you would have to imagine like, there's always been the saying that Uranus is like a UFO or something, but if there's more connection, like maybe that's how it gets powered through or like just like a sub-copy or something, I don't know. But yeah, no, that stuff like that's just sort of crazy. And then obviously, of course, you have the what I believe is supposed to be from Fishman Island, the Noah's Ark. That was at the bottom and stuff and everything. Sure. Yeah, so we know that's there as well. I saw some people also saying too, like that line that it's making there after where that like king or whatever it's supposed to be. It's supposed to be Zunesha.
Yeah, this is definitely Zunesha.
Yeah, I definitely think that too. Yep.
Yeah, and we know, of course, they were around for like 1,000 years or so they predated the time of the Void Century. So there's definitely some big significance that they're making with this. And I know there's no Straw Hat shown whatsoever on this mural, which I don't know if you have plans to talk on that tack, because that's something I noticed after the chapter, because I'm like, it would be an obvious thing with Joy Boy, but the fact that we see nothing there, I wonder if that's also in the middle where Frankie's blocking, because if it's not, that opens a lot of things about, because they said the kid made this.
Right, and well, we know Emu, has a giant straw hat in Marijwa, and so like if this, if this is like the Eve tree or whatever, an Emu in the middle, maybe the straw hat is hidden somewhere here. I think that's interesting. So then I'm going to go ahead and bring up the third world, and then we'll literally go through right to left and pick out what everyone is and what the heck is happening. Because this, I think, is really important. And like I said earlier, I think this is a lot clearer as to what it's implying. Within the chaos, there was emptiness. The inconvenient remnants recall the promised day and hear the voice of the half moon. The sun god dances and laughs, guiding the world to its end. The sun returns and brings a new morning. I misspelled that too. And they will surely meet. So, this is really important because I think this is definitely like what someone's prophecy would have been about the future right after the Void Century, in my mind. Because they're like, within chaos, there was emptiness. So the Void Century it's emptiness because there's no history, but there's a lot of chaos because there was a giant war during it. So I think that's what they're implying there. And then they say the inconvenient remnants, the poneglyphs, because they are not convenient for the world government, recall the promised day and hear the voice of the half moon. That's the D-clan. So the poneglyphs were left behind for the promised day, which is when the dawn comes. Everyone's waiting because of the voice of the D-clan, because they're supposed to come back and bring a storm and help everybody, right? And then the sun god dances and laughs, guiding the world to its end. So, it's just that Joy Boy's going to come back one day. The sun returns and brings a new morning, and they will surely meet. So that last part, to me, is kind of the big mystery that I want to tackle before we start going through every single part. Because I think kind of looking at this mystery and then going through the mural will help us, just kind of think through it all. And then we might even come back to this at the end and think about it some more. But to me, what this is implying, I brought up the poneglyphs and all that, but I think the surely meet part is basically, I heard a lot of good theories, but I'm really leaning towards it's that the seas were separated by the red line, and so they haven't met, and now in the future they will meet because the red line will finally disappear. Do you guys agree with that, or any additions?
I do, especially because of the idea of Pangea Castle. Because remember when that was first introduced, you obviously know the standing what Pangea means and stuff. The world was all once together and everything. We know that the water levels had risen, so there's a lot of islands that have gone missing over the period of time. So it wouldn't surprise me if like it was true that it was once Pangea and everything was all connected, kind of like a Middle Earth situation. But yeah, I'm definitely of that mindset.
Yeah, I like that idea too.
Okay.
I thought when I first read it, it was talking about Shirahoshi, but that wouldn't make sense since they already met.
Exactly.
But if you go back to the first world and it's saying they will never meet, wouldn't the first world have had like the sea was one thing?
Well, I think that's what it's saying is like they probably did meet originally, and then once the Earth God raged and its serpent of hellfire shrouded the world in death and darkness, then I think that means that the red line was put there, and that's why it says and they will never meet. Because once the red line was placed, they were separated, and it says they will never meet. Like theoretically, I guess it should say like it's they will never meet in this world,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
In the first world, and then the second world they will never meet in this world. Like maybe the ancient kingdom was working towards getting rid of it or something, and they were stopped or whatever, and now maybe they actually will.
It's just so fascinating that like the world, like the lost history has a lost history.
Yeah.
Like it just
Right.
to put it together, just like that just sounds so insane to me because the whole time I've always been in the mindset, okay, well it's just a void century, that's the big thing. But now that you tell me that like there's an extension out there
Yeah.
about something that we're only finding out 1,130 chapters later is just madness to me. And it's
Well-
like that's Nika's story. First world though, I was that's Nika's story because that's like we're being told now that there's more different variations. We'll guess because there's Nika, there's Joy Boy, and now there's Luffy in this thing. So
Yep. In my mind, the first world is like I don't want to necessarily say primordial, but that's like the first instance of like conscious life, I think, is the first world. And that's why like within the earth there was fire, mankind succumbed to greed. It's like humanity got to a point to where, they were starting to be like a little civilized and smart, like they weren't just tribal people living on their own, not doing much. I think it's a sign that's like when history really started, like where mankind was smart enough to do that, but then they got too close to the sun, and then something locked that all the way, like which was the red line. And I don't understand, like I'm guessing that like the holes down to the core of the earth were along the red line, and then maybe they filled them in with the red line, like that's what that purpose was, right? Like block all the holes down to the bottom.
Well, that could also connect to Eni's lobby,
Yeah, exactly.
Always sunny. Yeah.
Yeah. Yep, exactly. And that could be why they say shrouded the world in death and darkness, is because they covered those holes. So like it was always sunny, and then because that would make sense because like you know what, we can just go ahead and start going through the mural now because this is a good segue for it.
because I mentioned in the words or whatever. Sorry about that, Doc. Because the thing that I just noticed, whatever, with the wording and stuff too. Because the first time I read it, and I believe this with the TCB version too, we were saying is that like it kind of almost felt like the dinosaurs. Like how like they say like back in the day and stuff, the meteors came down, everything was completely, all the dinosaurs were destroyed, and the ice age and all that and stuff. That's kind of like what it felt like that first world scenario was. Obviously, in Oda's own way of doing it. Before like the actual stuff ended up happening. But I'm curious, like, how did we get from first to second? Because it seems like that dragon thing, whatever, if that is supposed to be him, it's like how do we go from the serpent to that after? Like, because they collide against each other. So like I would imagine like Im's been there for longer than what we've been assuming, which is like 800 years. No, it goes back way more than that now.
Yeah. I mean, my guess, and I mean, it's just kind of a guess. I don't really have a whole lot of reason, at least that I could give in this short amount of time for this video. But I feel like this second world where they say the forest god tamed demons and the sun spread the fires of war, I think it's a hint that like basically because of what they were doing, like where they were able to go down to like the core of the earth and access all this power, I think that somehow brought like not Emu, but whatever power Emu was able to take hold of, right? Because like if like it says tamed demons, and I think also the kanji for this could also be like magic or dark magic. I think like they all kind of use like similar like the same kanji, and it's like context kind of matters. But it just makes me think that like, because like think about it, these guys are going down to the core of the earth. That's like the physical underworld in a way, right? Where they're going down, and it's like it would make sense that going down there would then unleash like a true demon of some kind, you know, like because they accessed something they weren't supposed to, I guess, in a way. And it also, and in the first world, let me bring that up. It also says, like they touched the forbidden sun, the enslaved parade, and the sun god appeared. It makes me think that like that forbidden sun, that is what gives them the power for devil fruits or whatever, like bringing dreams into reality, and that's why, you know, like the earth god raged. It was like, you know, nobody's supposed to go down there, I guess, you know, and I don't know if there's a bigger story with what's down there. Maybe it's not just the core of the earth. Maybe I've heard theories that, you know, like we're like in a Dyson sphere, and so maybe it's like it's been man-made the whole time, and that's why like, hey, you're not supposed to go in there. It's kind of like with it's like a bigger version of Laboon in a way, because he, you know, they thought they were actually outside or whatever, but it was inside somebody else.
Yeah. I was wondering if you've been hearing too, Dak, because like since the chapter after. So if you go back to chapter 287, do you remember when Muse, I think it was Muse, Kalgara's daughter?
Moose. Or I don't know what her real name. I always just say
did the
Moose,
pronunciation, but Moose. Yeah. So when she was about to be sacrificed at the altar to the snake god and stuff. Remember how they did the thing of the god of rain, the god of sun, all these things, and now all of a sudden we get this chapter, and it's like explained there was a sea god, there was a forest god, there was a that god and stuff, right? So I just feel like honestly, like there's got a lot of answers that may be found in Skypiea, and it's actually crazy to think that like that arc. I was talking with JD Legend about it too, from after the chapter, but it's like Skypiea now. If you didn't think it was important, which would be insane to even consider that after all the chapters have come out, then it's now starting to become honestly the most important arc in terms of tying us into the lost history of the lost history. Like,
yeah. Well, and actually tying to that, there was a comment that I wanted to bring up, and we kind of touched on it earlier, but it's just a really good segue to bring this up because I do have some thoughts on just the history lesson of it all. Like, we're learning more stuff than we thought even existed. Kanu from the Discord, and I have quite a few comments we're going to go throughout the video here. But their question was, my biggest question is, when exactly is this mural depicting? The first and second world, the second and third world, just the Void Century, or just the current world? Also, they asked to get Joy Boy theories on, which I did invite him. We'll see, hopefully Joy Boy shows up. We'll see. I also want to hear his opinions. But you know, I think this is one really important question to think about, because we know from the history of the long arm tribe, the long leg and long arm tribe, that they've had a war for like thousands of years, and also the Tree of Knowledge has been around for like 5,000 years, right?
Yes, yeah. Yep.
So I think it's just really important to think about, like, you know, I mentioned earlier, maybe we're seeing the first world on the right, the second world in the middle, and the third world on the left, or maybe it's first world right, second world left, you know, some combination thereof. But it's also like, how far back is this? You know, like how like when do you think this city, this serpent, how long ago do you think that was? Because we know the Void Century was 800 to 900 years ago.
Yeah.
And so that to me is between second and third world. I think that's like almost locked in, I would say, or at least heavily implied. But as for the first world, like, how long did the first world happen? Like, how long did that go on for? And then did they have like a Void Century as well? Or, you know, like, I don't know. You guys have any guesses for that?
I think it's a situation where it's like AD. So like, you know, after death, before Christ. I think this is before Christ. This is definitely before. Like, I don't know if it'll go millions.
So like thousands?
Yeah, I would say thousands.
Yeah, thousands at least, yeah.
And that could be the reason why they don't remember anything instead of a Void Century. It was just so long ago.
Yeah, just
and and the world got kind of like erased at one point. You know, like
right,
whenever it gets flooded, you're going to lose a lot of that stuff, right?
Oh, precisely,
just sunken. So
yeah, we generally don't know how much was lost, honestly, during that period of time. We've only just been told the sea levels have risen, so like a whole world has just been gone by that point.
And we know from the Enel cover story, well, more like from Robin checking out the ruins of Skypiea, I should say, that the people from Enel's cover story came down at least 1,100 years ago. So we know that the people from the moon came down before the Void Century, like they ran out of resources. And I guess that leads to a theory that I kind of wanted to bounce off you guys. I'm gonna go ahead and blur this real quick, just in case, you know, just in case Shueisha gets any ideas.
You never know.
So we know that on the moon, the three sky races ran out of resources and had to go down to the Blue Sea for more resources. And I'm wondering if what they went through is like a smaller version of what happened on Earth almost, where what if like what if the moon also had like a sun, quote unquote, inside, you know, like a molten core or whatever that they were using for power, and then they used it all, and that's why they ran out of resources and had to leave their planet. And is that maybe what was happening here as well, where people went down into the core of the Earth and were using that power, and then did Emu or did some other entity step in and be like, hey, like if you do that, the Earth is gonna die. Like no, like it won't like the Earth that we use, you know, to grow our crops and for everyone to thrive on. Like the planet will go away if you use up everything in the core. I don't know. Any thoughts on that?
I mean, it's weird because I'm looking at this core stuff that's right here. Because initially, the first thing that came to mind, Dak, was like the whole thing of like this is how they found, I guess, like the original source to like Delphi powers.
Yeah.
Right? Because like I know it jumps a little bit more ahead because we're like depicting stuff, whatever. But like, there's two characters in particular that you and I talked about not too long ago that I found. I think they found a lot of inspiration from the Harley, and that's being Big Mom and Kaido. You could clearly see like the right side being the factories and stuff that we see in Wano, but the energy source being, and then the smiles and stuff too, which is another thing as well. And then Big Moms we could talk about more, but yeah, Kaido, like, you could clearly see like where his inspiration definitely came from whatever talks of Big Mom, because Big Mom, we know she's been in Elbaf. She definitely has seen the Harley, and that probably just like opened up his mind on some things just because of what they were seeing at the time. But I would think it would be a devil fruit power source. That's what I initially felt, because they had to go down under the devils and stuff and everything, and then
yeah.
There's more of an explanation on the second one on the world, but like I feel we'll wait until we get to that to speak more on it.
Yeah, no, I actually like that Kaido connection because I guess I'll hide these real quick. You know, over on this right, I think I mentioned this in my reaction as well, but like over here, you know, like you see these factories, like these smokestacks. Remember, Wano, two things about Wano. For one thing, they have Mount Fuji, which is like a natural smokestack in a way, right? Which could stand in. But also they built factories there. Orochi and Kaido did, right?
Yes.
And you also got to think what's underneath Wano, Pluton, and we see a city with all this stuff. We see a snake coming up from above it, and again, you know, I have my theory that Pluton's a mole, but also Mogra in Japanese isn't just mole; it's also Earth Dragon, and so I'm just looking at this thing, and I'm hearing about the Earth God, and I'm just raising my eyebrows the whole time. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, oh, okay. But I do want to make this quick comparison also to Enel's cover story. Because see how like they have that conveyor belt?
Yes, exactly.
Like, let me. I'll hide that. Yeah, so you can see the conveyor. That's the same conveyor belt, bro.
Yep. And this guy had it planned. They're gonna say like, oh, he figured it out like yesterday. No, he'd been cooking for a long time, man. Like
he's been on this. I mean, to me, that's just that. No question to me. There's a connection, and also you see above. I guess I can't show my cursor on that part, but you see above, like where they're building the automata, you see like that little orb of glow. I think that's also like the power that they're bringing to this city. Like that's equivalent because, let's see if I can pull it up. I got the whole Enel cover story right here. Wow, here. Okay, here we go. So on this one, you see that big orb that's powered up from Enel now.
Yep.
That orb, like that. Look, those are the same thing.
It literally is.
Those are the same thing. Like. And I don't think it's saying that these people, you know, are using electricity per se, but I think it's just I think they could be giving up their souls, to be honest with you. Like I don't.
It's a very
Like you know, and it's funny because if you think about like a devil fruit power, like it only works if you have someone's soul attached to it. Like you have to eat it, right? And like if it's not, it's useless on its own. You have to merge that with a person. And so whenever I see this part where like they're using people to bring up the power, I'm like, okay, wait, that's sort of devil fruity, sort of. You know, like we're inching closer and closer. So, and you also got to think like the fact that Enel is like beneath that orb now, like they're like in an underground portion. You know what I mean? And you see here, these guys are coming up from underground to give power to that city. It's just like, what's happening?
Yeah.
Do you guys think that city is like from the first world, or that's the ancient kingdom?
I think that's from the first world because I feel like the ancient kingdom. It's see that's the thing too because the ancient kingdom could have always been like around since time. It's just that we're only learning about that 800 like the 100-year void and stuff of it and stuff because that's what's been available provided to us. We don't like nobody. I don't think aside from maybe Im and the Gorosei to some extent are aware of exactly that there was a first world. But given how confidential they are in trying to erase anybody knowing what's going on with the poneglyphs, that's probably because like there may be a chance ball that somebody has information on one of those poneglyphs. And if anyone's gonna know that, it's gonna be Robin. Like Robin could literally just go and tell us, "Oh yeah, by the way, there was this first world and stuff." Like, why wouldn't you tell us that?
Yeah.
Like,
Robin just says, "I knew all of this already."
Yeah. It would drive me nuts.
But I bet you she's gonna. That's what's gonna happen. That's her thing. She always knows everything before we figure it out, right? Like whenever we met Poseidon, she's like, "Oh, by the way, I knew that Poseidon's supposed to be here," right? Like, and then right after Wano, Robin just walks in on Sukiyaki like, "I heard Pluton's here," and it's like,
yeah, just you like, come on,
Robin,
man, yeah,
you didn't tell anybody, like, what?
Yeah. Oh my god! I think Oda's just saying for that one chapter where it's just gonna be her only speaking on everything, and it's just like we're gonna let her cook, and it's like, oh my god, she just told us the void century.
Yeah, exactly. And one other thing I want to point out about these two panels is, so you see on the left how like the orb is powered up above the automata, and then on the right it's like powered down. You see like it has like all that swirly stuff in it, and then it's not there anymore in the right one. I think that might also I think this is all just a microcosm of what happened to the Earth, but it's just they were on the moon. And the thing is, like, I don't think the sky races were doing it in the most inhumane way, but I think basically they were using it to build these little robots that kind of acted like slaves for them, probably, like little warriors and whatever. And I'm thinking that maybe the ancient kingdom / Emu / the first world people, maybe they were using people's souls to then power, like robot slaves or something like that. Like, it's kind of like what we see with the Seraphim happening a little bit, right? Because you have to use their DNA to make the Seraphim. And so yeah, I think there's something here. I don't know. This is the craziest
part of me
connection.
too believes that we still don't know like the origin of the Lunarians.
Yeah.
And when Vegapunk said that the Seraphim are humanity's greatest, what do you say, life form or something?
The Seraphim, he said, they were the greatest, evolution, something or other.
I mean, and they're kind of like Lunarians. So did one of these kingdoms create the Lunarians, like you're saying, as their slaves or something?
Are they from Earth and stuff? Because that's also the other thing too, is that we don't know if a lot of races that are on One Piece and stuff, were they actually from this world? After the reveal, the fact that the first world existed, I don't know anything anymore of where certain, because again, it's like with the girls, with the devil fruits, we know like that's the rings, like the circles and stuff of those in Full Metal Alchemist, like the alchemy marks and stuff. I'm just like that is not from this world. So it's like how like they could do something, could be from another dimension. I don't know. Like it's just there's if we're getting all these different races, like the androids, essentially, whatever it is, are with Enel, and they're coming from a different world and stuff to get their resource from Earth because they saw something, whatever. Like anything is up for game right now. But yeah, I mean, it's weird because I do think now the second world, I know it jumps a little further, but I do think that's the original stuff when it comes to Del fruits, because they talk about the forest god and stuff. And I would assume I've always been of the idea that there was a Garden of Eden of where these Del fruits eventually came from, but now it seems like a forest god. Maybe that's what it ties into. But the fact that there's this tree, it feels like they're all hanging from a tree and they fell off, like literally an apple falling off the tree. Most easiest thing you can do from that. So
yeah, because now I'm starting to wonder, the forest god tamed demons and sun spread the fires of war. It's like, did the forest god, was the taming of the demons, is creating the devil fruits how they tamed these demons, right? Like, they locked them into these fruits and made it so, they still technically exist in our world, but they, have to coincide with, another person. Like I was saying, you have to eat it to use the powers. Maybe that's how, they locked the demons into... away, is they just did it that way. So they're still around. And then I think the question would be well, when they say demons, what do they really mean? Probably good people, because if this is in One Piece, it's often demons are the good people and the gods are the bad people, typically in One Piece. And so I'm thinking I don't know, maybe all the people that were sacrificed in the first world, maybe their dreams became the fruits because they were used for this power. And I don't even know, man. I don't know. My brain doesn't even work anymore after the last chapter. But seeing these dudes go down to the bottom, I'm like, they're going down to the underworld.
And like,
I mean,
another weird thing is they have halos on their heads or something. So like, what's
Yeah,
going
so
on with that?
Yeah, the angels and stuff,
Yeah.
whatever.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah, and actually, that's another good comment I can bring up. This was the most upvoted one, so shout out to Jay Verona. And it's so close to Nerona, Jay Verona Emu.
yeah.
What do you think of having 19 people in this elevator area, leading towards a crowned figure, either Lily or Emu, atop Zunesha, who committed an accidental crime? Also, the blue, maybe the red line with Marijo on top, kind of like Jormungandr. I'll leave that picture up so you guys can see that for a little bit. But I really want to hone in on that the fact that there's 19 people.
Very specific number, you know. Like,
yeah, maybe I have to do it like this. Okay, whatever. You guys know. There's 19 people behind him. I'll hide it. Yeah, I just want people to be able to read it or look at his image for a second. But yeah, so there's 19 people on this like little carousel. I don't know what to really call it. This elevator, whatever this is. And it is interesting that part of their like they're almost giving that stuff to Zunesha at one point, but then they're still taking it over to the rest of the city. But the fact there's 19 is interesting because we have the 20 kings, right? Yeah. And it makes me wonder, like, is this a sign that, you know, the other 19 kings had to like power up Emu? Is that kind of the idea? Or is it then something that I brought up before in literally my last video is in Drum Kingdom, the Wapol had the 20 MDs, like the 20 top doctors, and I always thought that was weird. Like, okay, wait, 20 doctors, 20 kings. We know the Mural use surgery is a really big deal, and we know from Law, like, he's a doctor and has the op fruit. And it just made me think, like, were there 20 doctors back in the day that were forced to give up their souls for the 20 kings? And could that be what this is? Because they're going down with halos, like you said. Like, it's like they die after doing that. And so, and if it's not, and like, so maybe the immortal youth part, that's why they're giving one to Zunesha over there. Maybe that's why Zunesha's alive still, is Zunesha had the surgery at one point. It's like, you gotta live forever. And maybe like the rest, you know, we're giving it to the city because like they were forced into it. It's in a messed up way. If they are giving up their souls as a form of power, then it's kind of like it's messed up. I'm not trying to say either is okay, but it's like almost a little better than what the ancient or what the world government does now, because the world government now just uses slaves in general, right? Like they just force people to do it. And I'm just like, you know, obviously, like if you're a slave, you have a chance to get freed. So I guess that's better in some ways. But like if you were told, hey, I'm going to be stuck in Marijo moving the sidewalk my whole life, or can I just give up my soul and they use the power to do it? It's like, at least you don't suffer with the first one, right. You know, or with the second one, sorry.
Yeah.
You know, so it's kind of like, it's like an interesting paradigm in that regard. Because I think like using slaves is kind of a consistent thing in One Piece, as sad as that is. But I don't know, what do you guys think is going on here, specifically with this Zunesha part? And also, I guess as another aside, who do you think this king is on top of Zunesha?
So I think the most likely one I can think of, just because Ivankov has spoke about the idea that there was an emu from the past from the Saint Erona family, I believe it was called, for the group, right? So the fact that we know there is an emu that dates as far back as that time, it would not shock me if that is like, it may be like another like form of emu too, because the dragon thing that's there, it could be just a form of theirs or some point, like, you know, just many things we're seeing there that's depicts back to emu. So that would probably be my first guess, or maybe like the true king of the world, which is also goes into Zebek as well, because that's what he was striving for. So whether he had knowledge about you know, the throne and stuff and everything, the empty throne, maybe that's the way the indicator says probably the first king of that time and everything. But the 19 kings or the 19 people situation is interesting because, again, we know the Nefertari family made up the 20 and stuff. So was that like this? I'm just thinking in my head, was there the original 20th person that was the prototype model and stuff for what we eventually see the world government was, and somebody from the Nefertari family eventually took that spot to put it back to 20, and then eventually someone from their own bloodlines was like, no, we can't. I don't want to be rocking with none of this. So they left after, and then of course went to Alabasta and did their own thing after. So maybe is that where the inspiration comes from for the second world, learning from what the people were doing back there in the first world. I'm very curious if that's what I was trying to go for.
Yeah, because Yeah, that's interesting because the fact that Emu's been around this long kind of helps this part.
Yeah.
In general, that this, I guess my problem is, at least as far as Zunesha is concerned specifically, is like Emu doesn't really have like a connection to Zunesha, right? Like at least that we've ever seen, like that they're friends or anything. But I guess if I were to, make an assumption here, I mean maybe that's where Zunesha's crime comes from, is Emu came in and somehow controlled Zunesha and made Zunesha do something, and then Zunesha's like, oh dang, oops, like I was listening to the wrong person.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it could also be, like the theme of betrayal constantly in the story.
Mm-hmm.
Somehow Emu was friends with Joy Boy back in the day, so like Emu could have tricked Zunesha. It's like, oh, do this for me. Didn't know Zunesha was inadvertently betraying Joy Boy.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, well, the thing for me is that we know that like Zunesha needed commands directly from Momonosuke.
Oh yeah.
And so it's like in my mind, you would probably have to hypnotize the past Kozuki leader or something to say it. And that would also make sense as someone with a crown, right? The leader of the Kozuki. Because like Momonosuke is like a king. I mean, he's the daimyo or shogun or whatever, right? But because you look over here like at Poseidon also has a crown on. And it just would make sense to me that like the two leaders of countries that we know for sure control these creatures should, it would make sense they would have the crowns, I suppose.
Yeah. But it just looks so much like Emu's crown. Why I think it's Emu.
Yeah, I mean it's tough because I mean, I guess it's like slightly taller, but it's not like that much different than Poseidon's. It's just slightly taller, and Emu's is like that, I just drew it. But I mean,
but that's like also from an up close view as well too, because from far away it could also be a different thing. But the other thing I was going to actually mention too is that let's say the thing on the top is like the Earth Dragon thing, whatever it is, right? Because like maybe there was something happened after where Emu was able to fuse with it, which probably gave us the idea of the thing that's all the way in the far left. Because that thing there is like, I generally think that is the true form of him. Like that is like when they have to go and scrap at it at the very end of this story, that is what we're facing. Not the shrouded in the silhouette with the crown. That is our problem that we got to deal with.
Okay. So, you know what? So that's a really good segue to go ahead and start. Let's just go try to name what every single thing is. So, why don't we just start with that thing? I don't know where the best place to start is. So let's start with this because these big creatures, these two, the top, the middle, the guy on the left, and the dragony thing. I think those would help us the most to break down. So this guy on the left. So you're saying you think it's Emu?
I think that is definitely Emu. Like holding on to the mother flame is stuff of great importance. It's Emu.
Then what do you think at the top though?
I think they're both Emu because that's his like full dragon form, and then that's his like hybrid form on the left.
Either that or they did a fusion dance. Like that's the only other like a Potara earring, something, man. Like they fused together, and that's what made it.
Well, let me just throw this out there for you. Could the left instead be Blackbeard? And it could be Emu from the past where Blackbeard is reliving what Emu did. So maybe Blackbeard maybe this was Emu in the past, but it's going to happen again, and now this is Blackbeard. And the reason I say Blackbeard is, for one thing, the fact we have the thing on the left and the thing at the top makes me feel like they're different beings. Mm-hmm. Like I don't think Emu would be on. Like I could see Emu maybe being this king and then one of these forms, maybe just because we would see like two versions. But seeing like two giant things being Emu. I mean, it's possible, but I guess I'm just kind of throwing it out there that at least to me it would make sense they're separate. And the reason I think Blackbeard would make sense, and Emu makes sense too. I'm not totally throwing that away, but he's holding the sun, which Blackbeard's the darkness guy. And whenever he fought Ace used Flame Emperor, which was like a giant attack that looked like a sun, essentially. And so if Blackbeard, he mentioned that his darkness like sucks in all the light too, right? So it just makes me think Blackbeard could be this guy because if he's the anti-sun guy, even like because Emu is like an anti-sun god guy, but it's almost like Blackbeard is more the anti-sun specifically. Like he wants the sun to like go away, and this almost makes me think that like one day Blackbeard will hold the sun hostage, and we're all trying to kill him to like make him give the sun back? You know, like what if he uses his fruit to like cover it up or something?
Yeah. Because I remember I was talking with Jay about this. It's like, the idea of a solar eclipse cannot be thrown out from One Piece whatsoever. Sure. And if there's anyone that can actually pull that off, it will most likely end up being Blackbeard. So this could like the other thing I have to factor in too is that it's been stated, like, I mean, Marco's kind of hinted around towards it. I know there's been many theories for years about it, is that Blackbeard has like a second person inside of him. Right. So I don't know if like maybe that could be the thing precisely. So whenever like he unlocks, because I don't know if he's, I would imagine, like, I've always been to believe he gets stronger with every single arc that passes post time skip, to the point that he'll eventually be like the top dog. So I don't know if it's going to be at the point now where he knows exactly how to awaken that thing as himself. And because let's say if that is him and that's not Blackbeard, then like it makes Blackbeard more frightening as the outlier, because if he's not on this mural, he is going to be the thing that is the game changer that changes everything. So whatever you think is on this mural that we're supposed to be dictating towards, Blackbeard's existence is going to tell you not while he's around.
And we know from when he fought Shanks that he was able to scar Shanks, and Shanks was like, well, I was taking him seriously, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah.
What if this is it? What if this is the form that comes out?
Which is like, can you think about it? It's like, it reminds me of such like a Dragon Ball moment of like Piccolo having to fight like Gohan in his grade 8 form or something. Like just like one of those situations where it's like, obviously we didn't hear about it because it was a 1v1 in some weird place or whatever. Right. Because the thing is, like, anyone else would have known Blackbeard has this thing, right? Like Whitebeard would have known that he had this thing. So this had to have been like, he saw him in the alleyway or something, and then led to that situation.
Well, remember in the Ace novels, Dak, I think they go on missions on their own, like Blackbeard and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Yep, with Ace too.
Yeah,
they do, yeah.
But yeah, I mean, if that's Blackbeard's other form, it would make sense why Shanks was so concerned about him. He's like, yeah, Ace can't take this guy.
Yeah, because he knows the real threats.
And again, that goes back to Ace, being the firepower guy, using an attack that looked like a sun. That was his final attack when Blackbeard, finally beat him, or the last attack we saw. And I just keep thinking, like, the fact that this guy is holding a sun and everyone's mad about it, it's almost like, imagine that's Blackbeard and he's holding Ace and everyone's coming after him for the war because it's like, hey, how dare you hurt our friend, And obviously the government's the one who, put Ace to death, but it's all Blackbeard's fault for getting him in the first place, right?
Precisely. He triggered the war, basically.
Yeah.
If you think that's Blackbeard, what about what the Celestials look like on the bottom of him?
So that's a good thing to mention. So the thing about that is, like, I've seen people say the Gorosei, and I mean, I like that because they're all wearing helmets.
It would make sense. It would make so much sense just because, like, they are old enough or whatever where they could fit in that timeline in their prime, especially.
Right. But what I'm thinking this could be, and I think I mentioned it earlier, but it's like, this could be a depiction of Emu in the past, and then Emu took over, and now Blackbeard is Emu 2.0. Like, he's taking the same exact path. And so this could be the Gorosei. But, I mean, it could also just be the Blackbeard pirates because, like, we don't know that much about them, as far as, like, their past and stuff.
Right.
But, like, what if we come to find out, like, the Gorosei, they're named after the 5 Elder Planets. Their names are literally based on planets, right? So it would make sense they're tied to space in that regard. But we also saw space pirates in Enel's cover story. And so we know that those exist. And we don't know that much about the Blackbeard pirates, and I'm not saying that they are space pirates, but what if they all have pasts that tie to space in some way? Like, what if their families were space pirates, and what if they've all been, like, inspired by stuff that people have learned on the moon? Because I would imagine if we saw that entire group up there, some of that knowledge probably came back at some point, I mean, I don't know how people are getting up there, but somebody is somehow.
Or like they never originated from Earth. Like that would be the next like mind-blowing thing ever.
Yeah.
It's like, all of this right here, this is not like we built this because our other place got like it would make the first one even more scary because that was originally where they were from, and then they found this planet, and then that's what became of after. So
I love that idea a lot. Because
like, what do you do with that information as somebody born in the current era right now?
Yeah,
like you're just being told this place, like that house that you lived in for like at least hundreds of years, whatever, your grandparents and all that. Yeah, that's just nothing, a figment or whatever, a figment of imitation and stuff. Because your great ancestor was living in some place in the other dimension. You know what I mean? Like that's just scary to even just ponder on such a thought.
Yeah, like. I mean, space is going to become a massive part of the story.
Yeah.
I mean, that's one thing that I've become. I mean, I was already convinced of it, but the fact we're seeing this moon connection over here, like the moon's even right above it on the right,
That's
which
what
I think
mean,
even because like you see the moon on the right, and then you see the sun on the left, and I'm just like, man, what is? I don't know. There's just so much happening.
Yeah.
But what do you guys? Okay, so up here, this thing. So for me, I think this is most likely to be Emu, but I'm open to other ideas. And the reason I say Emu, and I'm pretty confident, is, I mean, Emu is at the top of the Eve tree, presumably. I guess we don't technically know, but pretty sure. And this thing is at the top of this tree, so that alone, I think, is a really good connection. I've said for a while, and have others, that Emu is gonna have a dragon form, or that's gonna be like their beast. Like, I don't know if zone is the right word, because I don't know if they actually have devil fruits, but their like animal form is gonna be a dragon. From what we saw in the manga, and I mean the anime showed a little bit more, but you know a lot of people don't count it. But but he had like sharp teeth and like at least had like an elongated face, kind of like a dragon, but we didn't really see that much. And also, Emu ate Sabo's fire. And that always just, that symbolism just made me really think, like, okay, wait, like, if you're gonna eat fire, that's kind of what a dragon does. I mean, dragon usually spits it out, but you know what I mean. Like that symbolism to me was kind of strong. And you even see here on the right that they're exchanging fire attacks, and so that also makes me think, like, you know, if Emu ate Sabo's fire, here's Emu, I mean, combating this other fire. You know, it's kind of like that part of it. And also, this thing is like a Western dragon, because of the like big wings, and that would make more sense for Emu because we've seen a lot of Eastern dragons, and Celestial dragons loved dragon number 13 from Punk Hazard, which was a Western dragon.
Yep.
So now you got this one. And last thing, if the first world, second world thing are in order, like it's like the first world on the right, and then like it's like a time progression over to the left, well then Emu should be probably somewhere in the middle, because it's like Emu, I mean, would have been controlling the world in some way, shape, or form for a really long time. And I just think, like, you know, having them be kind of in the center makes a lot of sense, because maybe that's like stand-in for the Void Century, I suppose, something like that.
Yeah.
But what do you guys think?
Well,
Yeah,
it's weird
I think
because
Emu.
you go, yeah, my bad.
I was just I agree with Emu. That's what that is.
Okay.
Yeah, because I was gonna say, because I'm thinking like, so going back to like what Vegapunk was saying back in, well, just in general with Vegapunk's character, because you know we know that he was trying to morph like this Delph fruits, right, based on Kaido's, you know, the dragon and stuff when everything was going on, right? Could it be, because obviously it's more on the eastern side than anything else, because you brought up the thing with the western. Could have been the possibility that it could be that too, like where he was trying to get a Western dragon as well. So you know when the reaction, he was like, "Oh, it's pink, whatever," like his reaction. But like, I think more so the fact that he wasn't able to get close to the Western dragon, because I think he is aware of the fact about that dragon in his past. Like the fact that he knows so much about the voice century and all that, it wouldn't surprise me if there was details about the first world. It's just like, obviously, how do I go and tell these people about it when they're not prepared for the stuff that's going on, what happened in the second world? So maybe that's a small thing that we end up finding out afterwards, that he was trying to create the closest thing to what Emu's like original form was as that dragon in that devil fruit, and then eventually West went to East instead.
Yeah, actually, I love that, because we actually saw in the in like the flashback with Vegapunk and Clover, like Vegapunk had like a tiny little dragon with him, and we've known for a long time. Yeah, which I love that, and he's been, you know, working with dragons for a long time, and it's always just made me think, like, the government probably told him to do it because they love dragons so much, and maybe he's never really known why, or maybe he finally caught on why, and that could also be part of you know, like maybe what he wanted to say, or part of why he decided to make that message now of all times. I'm not really sure, but he's been tied to him for a reason, for sure.
Yeah, and like the easiest thing you can also say too, Doc, it's like it's literally in their name. They're celestial dragons, like that right there.
Yeah.
Is
Space
a
dragons.
celestial dragon. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
and,
why
and
not?
This thing's coming from space. That's a good point. It's coming from the sky, right? So that's actually I'm feeling pretty good now about that.
Yeah, I'm like, I can live with that too, honestly.
And I also put here forest god, because in the second world we see the forest god tamed demons, and sun spread the fires of war. Cliff, come here, buddy. Cliff is protecting the house from Emu stopping the stream.
I was gonna say that because I'm just thinking right now, because of Frankie blocking the thing, because we don't know what the forest god's supposed to look like, whatever, and we haven't seen the straw hats. I'm just saying, what if he's looking at the forest god right now, and that person has a straw hat on? and it's a similarity to a certain somebody that we know of. And if Oda wants to show me that at the end of the next chapter and go on a month break, bro, you burned it. Like,
yeah, it's so funny that Oda, he's had 4 chapters for the first time in years, and it's after the craziest chapter. Like, Oda, this was the time to take a break. You could have taken a 2-week break, and we would have been just fine. I mean, I'm not complaining, but.
Or if you want to get even crazier with that too, Dak, is imagine if Luffy gets the chance to see the mural, but we obviously don't get to know what Frankie is seeing right in front of him, like it's blocking him. Imagine that's the thing. Like Luffy looks, he's like, "That's me," kind of thing. Like someone that I honestly might cry. I would legit like, what the heck is going on?
And what I'll throw in there. So I've been a long proponent of Chopper being the forest god, and not that I am completely sold, but I just think there's a lot of reasons for it. But if I had to throw in someone other than Luffy or a Straw Hat person, it should be Usopp.
Oh yeah,
because he's the botanist.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And he ties to Nolan.
Yeah.
Yes,
oh my
sir.
God. Yeah,
and here's something that I brought up in my reaction, which if I were to do a video on what's happening, this is what I would do the video on. I think the kid who painted this was a past Usopp. It might be a past Usopp and Luffy combined. Yeah. Right? Because
of how bad it is.
Yeah. Well, for one thing, the arts.
Well, they tried.
This art's better than anything Luffy could have ever made.
Yeah,
I can tell you that. This is far beyond Luffy's capability. So this is more Usopp capability in my mind. Usopp the current Usopp probably would be even better than this. But I mean, if we're talking a prehistoric Usopp, this is pretty dang good.
Yeah, with chiseled like rocks and stuff, probably like with a little bit of blood here and there, man. That's perfect. Like
that's what I'm saying. Yeah, or probably like different plants, like with different paints, because like you use plants for dyes and stuff, right? So
yeah.
But the reason I like that is because remember, it's a prophecy of the future.
Right, yeah.
And Usopp is a prophet. Whatever he says comes true. And so what if an Usopp-like kid, way back when, was wishing for a better future, and so he drew this because this is what he envisions will happen, and that's how this whole prophecy started, is somebody like Usopp created a lie that all this is going to happen, and because of whatever mechanizations in the One Piece world, it had to happen because he said it, and now here we are. And here's the thing that I really like. What if that's the true reason that Emu's been clearing out all the information from the whole world and why the poneglyphs were so bad? Because it's like, if that prophecy got washed to the ages, like nobody knew that legend was ever created, that Usopp-like person said that, then maybe it would never happen. But because there is recollection of that prophecy, then it has to happen because. It's kind of like with Kaya hearing all of Usopp's stuff. Like if Usopp is like mumbling to himself, like all this stuff's gonna happen. It's like 1% as impactful as whenever he's going around hyping it up, and then it does, right? It in some ways, I mean, there could be like a fate element to it, but it could also be like a self-fulfilling prophecy in the sense of like if people hear it and believe it'll happen, it's just they slowly start gravitating towards doing the things to make it happen, right? So yeah, I would love if that's an Usopp-like guy, and that could lead to all the Nolan type. This arc.
Yeah, because I remember mentioning in my own reaction review too with the stuff with Nolan. Like if it is somebody that is a tie, whatever, it's like with Usopp. Like even because we know with Nolan, especially this is a detail I went back and reread Skypiea just for for the vibes and stuff, right? And we are aware that Nolan did have a kid, and obviously, of course, we know Cricket afterwards, later in time and stuff. It's very possible again because families work in mysterious ways where there's extensions on extensions and extensions that somebody from that extension of Nolan's family came across with someone from Usopp's, like Yasop, like their people, whatever, and then eventually here we go. So why is Usopp so connected with all this? Well, he is somehow connected in some sort of blood line. So yeah,
100%. I'm if this is where the Usopp hype starts, I'm fully ready. I'm fully ready.
He's a god.
It was a long wait. He was trenching for so long, but we're finally eating, man. This is the best way to do it.
Yeah. Yeah, Usopp, man, so underrated. That's like the number one character that people don't like. At least, like whenever my friends watch it, I should say that's like the number one Straw Hat where they have issues, and I'm just like, look, one day you'll understand. Even if you haven't seen enough in the story yet to understand, I'm so confident that Oda will deliver on Usopp. Of all the people, so confident. All right, I want to keep going through and try to name some of these things. So obviously that's the Noah. We have Zunesha here. I guess I'll go ahead and say Emu / Kozuki.
Yep.
Oh, spelled that wrong. Kozuki Shogun. I guess I'll put that here in an arrow.
Yeah.
But so I guess my question for you guys now is, what should I call this on the right? Like, what in the world is this? The ancient kingdom? Is this snake? Is this snake Pluton, or is it what became the red line? You know, like what is?
Yeah. I mean, if you're talking about the snake, I would say the red line. That'll be the first thing I would think of. Outside of that, yeah, I'm curious what you guys think.
I mean, it could be the Earth God. What do you guys think the Earth God is in the story?
I mean,
that's the thing, yeah, because
it could be just Pluton, and
yeah,
and the thing is we know that you can make multiple Plutons, or
right.
Pluton-like things, Pluton-level things. So it could be that that's like the original. And I gotta admit, it would be an Oda-like thing to make there be like the Pluton that we've been calling Pluton. It would be an Oda-like thing to make that be a Pluton that was made with the blueprints and not the true original. Because even during that arc, we thought that those were the blueprints to Pluton the whole time. And then at the very last second, they're like, actually, that's how to make a counter to Pluton. Mm-hmm. And so what if the original Pluton that we're waiting for in Wano was made with the same thing? Like, that's a counter to a different Pluton, right? Like, they could all be similar power but different versions, I suppose.
Yeah. I mean, I like that. That's definitely possible. Because I would imagine though, because we're actually gonna see these things like in person, like the Uranus. We're gonna see Pluton and everything too. I mean, like, would it be outside of the realm to believe? Like, you would imagine, it's gonna be a ship, but what if it is the original, like, you know, Pluton? Like, we actually see this snake thing just chilling at the bottom, and it's connected to the red line. Because if the red line, that's what it's supposed to be, it could be one and the same as well, right? Because as soon as you break off one part, because it breaks everything else off.
Yeah, well, that's something else I've been thinking. Yeah,
because imagine they say Wano, as soon as the board is open, it's going to break open. But you have to imagine too, if there's a connection outside there as well. Like this, it's supposed to be a big snake. Like this thing's supposed to it looks like it's going to be like from both sides, Paradise and the New World. So if you break, it's almost like literally if you break, I don't know what the hell the term is exactly, but they have this like in the waters and the seas where if you break this like certain thing for it, everything else like breaks up apart, and then after the water levels will like either rise or they start to. Oh, in this case, it will rise because the land mass is going down. So.
Yeah, it's tough because like Pluton, like I guess since it's under Wano, I guess I'm just wondering how big it could realistically be, because like it would have to be coiled into like this giant circle thing. Like I guess in my mind I'm imagining it being like the diameter of Wano at the biggest, because like with the way the walls go down, like I'm just imagining it has to be confined in the walls.
Yeah.
And so that makes me wonder if it could even fit. But here's the thing that I've been saying for a long time is that Pluton is going to just be a power source or a weapon or something given a zone fruit. Because for one thing, the first zone, weapon we've ever met was Lassu. Guess who he was working with? A mole, right? He was working with Mr. Four and Miss Merry Christmas. And then we also met Funkfried at Enies Lobby. That was over a hole in the ocean, which we saw one at Lelucia, and Pluton's supposed to destroy islands in a single blast. And the next one was Smiley, which was a giant bomb, like literally a giant poison bomb. And so it's always just made me think like Pluton could just be several versions of that. And so it could be that like maybe the red line was the very first version, and it was like a Pluton or like a weapon that was given this serpent, a fire fruit or whatever, right? And then maybe Pluton was made to combat that, because maybe the ancient kingdom was like, well, we got to get rid of the red line, guys, right? Like going back to the one, the first world and second world, how they're like, and they will never meet. If those are the oceans, as we talked about, then you would need to get rid of the red line to have them meet. And so I'm wondering if it's like the first world shows where the red line gets placed in, which is this snake thing maybe directly. And then the second world was them kind of making a way to get rid of that and said they will never meet because I mean, I don't really. In this description, I'm not really sure, but Pluton got locked away. The Void Century happened. Whatever.
Yeah.
And so now it's like, well, now the Red Line will get destroyed.
Because I'm thinking like this Hellfire thing. I mean, it says a Serpent of Hellfire. This literally could just been from underneath the earth, like where the power source was. Like, imagine you're taking all this stuff, and the damn snake woke up after, and then all hell broke loose after that point, right? So like, that is possible. But then the other thing I'm also thinking of too, that just came to mind, is that if it is the Red Line, the basis for and everything, because you remember how every single time you want to go over the red line to go into the next place and stuff, because if you can't go through Fisherman Island, that's the other option, but you need to get permission afterwards from the world government. You would imagine like why, like, because we've only seen Marysville on top of the red line, we haven't seen anything else that is on there. So why do you need permission every single time to go up there? Well, is there possibility that there are remnants of that serpent? Like we see like the back scalings and stuff. Are there scalings that they weren't able to cover up? Because if they do, they're reawakening this thing. And the only good thing you can still do is you can climb it up. It's not going to bug it. But if you touch one of the damn scales, then you got a problem on your hands afterwards, right? So that's why you need permission to get to the safer route, so you don't go and awaken this thing. There's so many ways that could go, actually. Like,
yeah, I actually love the idea that like they're staying on the red line by themselves, kind of isolated, kind of like Wano a little bit, because they don't want anyone to potentially find out what's hidden inside the red line, right?
Yeah.
Maybe a little bit of Attack on Titan vibes there, a little bit.
Yeah.
And this is a parallel that I made in my most recent video, and I actually had people comment on this, so shout out to you guys if you commented. I sadly don't have a picture, but I know multiple of you did talk about it, where because of this recent chapter, which that video was done before then, so which makes this all even crazier, I brought up the idea that it's kind of weird that, like, Wano's isolated, Marishwa's isolated. Wano has these giant walls. They're actually on top of the giant walls, right? Because they have the settlement above the walls at this point. So, Wano surrounded / on top of a border. Marishwa is surrounded / on top of a border, and that border goes all the way around the world, right? So it's like just a much bigger one. It's like multitudes bigger than Wano. And then, of course, Wano is on top of Pluton. So is Marishwa on top of something, right? Mm-hmm. Is that a hint that Pluton or the Red Line Serpent or whatever could come back one day? And that's actually we actually had a something that I wanted to mention about that. If I could find it, was it this one? Nope, not that one. Although we will get to that one. Not Time Lord either. I have these marked, but I don't remember what the question was. I know it's here somewhere. Did I say Jay Verona? I said Kanu. All right, I'm going to find it. Give me a second. But I know somebody asked about this, but they said basically something about the Red Line Serpent coming back one day. Oh, was it him? No. Oh, you know who it was? I don't have a picture of it. It was Captain Golden Boy. That's why, because he sent it 2 seconds before the stream. So Captain Golden Boy, shout out to you. That's right. So basically what he said was, and he has a channel, so make sure you go check him out if you like this, but he basically posed the idea that, like, what if the reason Blackbeard was going for Boa's devil fruit was because he wanted to bring back that serpent, right? Because, like, what if it's encased in stone via, that fruit, and to bring it back, you have to unstone it, which just sounds weird, but you have to do that. Which Boa said that you can't do that, like she can't undo the past petrifications. But I think she just might be lying, to be honest. Or she might. Sure. She might just not have her fruit awakened also, and so she doesn't even know that you can. Like, to me, that's Oda, like, guys, don't think about this. Like, to me, it's like, guys, please don't. Just pretend that you can't do that so you don't catch on to what I'm doing, That's how it feels to me. It's kind of like when Vegapunk's like, all right, guys, like, the devil fruits drew the ire of Mother Nature, all this stuff happened. That's my theory, at least. It's like Oda always throws in those little things, like, don't think about it too much. Please don't. Like, you might figure it all out.
Mm-hmm. Well, I had a theory a while back that the X marks on the red line, the X mark,
right?
That was like, I forgot my entire theory. I wrote it on Reddit a while ago, but that was the entrance to the underworld or the afterlife, and it's being blocked. And weren't you guys just saying that what these people are going down under is collecting souls or something?
Mm-hmm.
And it said let me bring it up, the first text, that the Serpent of Fire woke up, like the Earth God was enraged and the Serpent of Fire woke up. So what if it came from the underworld? And if that's where, like, souls and the devil fruit originated from, could it connect to like the serpent from Adam and Eve
Yeah,
story?
yeah.
Like
Oh,
that's
yeah.
the serpent that's protect. Maybe it's like a different play
Yeah.
on it. It's protecting the souls, and like if that uh
That's
civilization
interesting.
was taking those souls, and the serpent's like, well, you can't take this, and then
Yeah,
they covered it up with the red line or something to block it.
Yeah, I definitely like the idea that the red line was put there to block access to this forbidden sun, I guess was what we'll say.
Yeah.
I'm with that 100%.
Yeah.
And as far as the X's, I mean, I think there's a lot of things those could be, but the first thing I thought of, which I mentioned this in my stream, I think, but I feel like there's a couple connections, but like remember how Kaido had an X scar and he is a dragon, which is almost like a snake-like thing. Remember in One Piece, and he's also he was on like controlling Wano, which is on top of Pluton, and so now we see this thing coming out. Like we have the smokestacks, right? Like was Wano a microcosm of what's going on, right?
Yeah.
Like Wano was once a peaceful, open land that everyone liked. It got taken over due to a giant serpent thingy, and then they started making factories and having slaves and all this, and then the sun god came and saved everybody. Like that, generally, that story's repeating.
Yeah.
But I just I don't know. Like, is this city the ancient kingdom? Do you guys think is that the?
That's what I first thought, but you guys brought up like how it connects to Wano. Like it could be like the ancient kingdom city before, from the first world. So it's not the ancient kingdom, but like it's another version. But they just did things way worse with like that was harming the planet.
Yeah, because the first thing I was thinking about back then too was that like this was like inspiration again for Kaido when it came to making the factories and all that, which is what it is. Because like,
I love that.
I just don't want to imagine that like well, don't want to imagine, but then there's always a possibility that the guys that we're looking at that is evil could have actually been like decent, whereas the good people just had a warped way of thinking of things, right? So it's very possible that back then the roles were completely reversed, and like this is like the good people literally doing all this stuff where they're getting all the source powers and stuff and everything, and then someone like an Im came down after and was like, no, you can't do that. They fought back with Pluton, whatever, so I guess save their asses, and then eventually led to the demise of the first world because that serpent. Like, the thing we don't even see the Earth God too. That's how they'll point out because you point out right there with the Forest God possibly being with Imu and stuff right there. We think that Imu or the Kozuki Shogun and everything. So there's no like indicator of who this Earth God is going to be because otherwise there probably would have been something closer to the Hellfire Serpent or like on the base over there where the buildings and stuff are. That could go as an indicator for that. So yeah,
and I'm actually going to go put Earth God over here too, I guess. I should have done that because it could be any of these. And tying to that, I think maybe another kind of connection that might be worth bringing up here is, so we have the Noah down here. We have the old Arc Maxim. And the reason I say old is that we know Enel had the Skypians build him the Arc Maxim. And so this would have to be like an old version. Either maybe like the remnants of this were updated into Enel's Arc Maxim, or maybe they still had the blueprints to this one and they rebuilt it, or maybe maybe Enel just heard about this one and saw images and told the Skypians to make him one, right? There's in some way, shape, or form, he has an updated version, basically, is all I'm saying. But this is obviously a stand-in for the old one. And so the thing is, we have the Noah, we have the Arc Maxim, that likely ties the two ancient weapons. Not saying that the Arc Maxim is Uranus. I think it kind of like how the Noah connects to Poseidon. I think it's the very same thing with the Arc Maxim. It just connects to Uranus, like it's pulled or, used for a purpose tying to what they do. But then where's Pluton? I mean, now it takes us back over to this thing on the right? Yeah. Like you would think all three ancient weapons would be together. So.
Well, then you also have that picture of from before. Are they showing the ancient weapons? The three. What Frank was staring at? It's so confusing.
I should bring that up. I should get that picture. Just give me a second, and I will.
Because I was gonna say to you, Dax, also too, because I know like at the top part, like right there, is supposed to be the moon, or like for most of us, we assume that might be Uranus. But what if the old Arc Maxim is actually supposed to be like Uranus? Right, because you see that mark, you see that lightning thing that's hitting the ground and stuff. That to me, it looks in somewhat similarity to like the explosions that we've seen like on Lucia and everything too. So like, if that is the case, right? So Enel was basically trying to like I guess recreate his own version of Uranus, and he ended up getting the Arc Maxim. But that's because it was the template for what Uranus was back then.
Yeah, I totally
Yeah.
agree with that. Totally agree with that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know you don't
me-
necessarily, Dak. But
Yeah, because
I definitely
Yeah.
For me, I think it's clear that every ancient weapon is going to have 3 parts, and the ship wouldn't be the Uranus part, right? Like because like for Poseidon, the weapon is the person, right? For
Yep.
Pluton, the weapon is the ship. Now the ship could be alive and still act as a ship, so that doesn't really mess with it. But like we've already been told, the Pluton is the ship, and so for me, then the Uranus should be like the creature. Just if we're gonna complete that trifecta, because like it's kind of moving. Like every one has 3 parts, but which one's the actual weapon has switched between each of them. And so for Arc Maxim, it should be whatever the creature is. But I mean, I think it connects to it. Like it's like how you can't have Poseidon without the Arc Noah, because that's literally Poseidon's purpose, is to use the Arc Noah. I think the Arc Maxim's similar, but I don't think it is the weapon. I think it's like just part of it.
Yeah.
Because I'm trying to bring up that panel with Frankie, because that would also help here. Okay, I almost have it.
Yeah, because I had that video from a while back when I first lived in during Wano that, like, if I had to give an indicator of what Uranus is going to be, the best thing I could think of was the airship, because literally it's like that's the one thing we have yet to see in the series. We've seen boats, we see people on land, we see people in the water. So what about the skies? We have yet to see any planes or anything. If there is one there that could be an option, that would be so cool to see in the story be introduced. It would be like a warplane or like an airship, essentially, for that kind of stuff.
Yeah, for sure. I definitely think the Arc Maxim, and this is part of a theory that I'm going to be releasing, I don't even know when, but probably soon now that this chapter came out, where I think Uranus, like the other ancient weapons, has 3 parts to it, and that's why there were 3 sky races that came from the moon. They each had a component, right? But so I want to talk about this real quick. This is from earlier in the chapter when Frankie first looks at the mural, and then we don't see the full thing till later. And he sees these 3 figures, which the right one is definitely Poseidon. Middle one looks like Emeth. Left one, maybe Sulong. I think that's like a good guess, at least, is Sulong. And that ties to the moon, so I think that's important. But so that would just mean that these other 2 should be the other 2 ancient weapons. And I think we talked earlier how the middle one looks like Emeth. Emeth runs on the ancient power source, which Vegapunk can never figure out. I think it would make a lot of sense if the ancient power source, which Lilith said if they figured out that ancient power source, then they would be able to make their own sun. So that tells me that ancient power source is kind of paramount to making another sun. And so that just makes me wonder, okay, so maybe Emeth is here because he runs on the same power that Pluton does, and Vegapunk just couldn't figure it out, because that shows it's better than the Mother Flame also, which I think everything the Ancient Kingdom did is kind of better than Vegapunk's. But then you have the Sulong over here, which, I mean, the fact that Sulong and ties to the moon, I think, is the best thing, but I really don't know what else that would mean for Uranus, but that would be the stand-in for Uranus. And again, to be clear, I don't think these are the weapons, because Oda wouldn't want to spoil that yet, like in something like this. Like, it's one thing to show Poseidon, because we already know who that is, but the other 2 I don't think he's going to spoil. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know what the left thing, I don't know what the animal for Uranus is quite going to be. I mean, I think it's going to be the egg on Roger's ship. And I don't know if that means the egg came from the moon. That sounds like the craziest thing of all time. But I mean, we shouldn't even, everything's possible. It's like
I was gonna say
it's like Kevin Garnett after winning the title.
Yeah, I was gonna say as another indicator. I mean, this probably goes veers away from the ancient weapons and stuff, but even though it kind of still is on them, but with Joy Boy, we were aware of the fact that he wrote that apology. I believe it was to Shirahoshi about the promise that was broken and stuff, right? So
to Poseidon,
to Poseidon. So my whole thing in my mind when I saw this, as the first time, is that are those because again, this is a kid's dream and stuff, right? And could that have been Joy Boy's 3 most trusted companions?
I like that.
Poseidon, Emeth, and then whoever the last one is, which again shows the connection with the Minks and why even with them it's so they're so tied in with the Kozukis because of all that, right? So.
Well, think about this too. The Minks had a road poneglyph.
Yep.
The Fishmen had a road poneglyph. Emeth, I mean, we don't really know where he's from necessarily, but I'm just going to throw this out there. He's at least giant connected in some way because he's giant, right? It's not that he is one, but he's tied to it in some way. And we don't know where Big Mom got her original poneglyph from, but I'm just going to go out and I don't know if she would have taken it directly from Elbaf, but I think its original place was Elbaf because she's so closely tied to it. The fact that she had one, I'm like, Oda, I know you're gonna cook. I know you're doing this for a reason. You're gonna hype this up where Big Mom got Elbaf's poneglyph somehow because they're so deeply connected and whatever. So obviously that's a theory, but to and then one was at Wano, which has Pluton, which is its own thing. So that could also connect to Emeth because if they run with the same power source, then Pluton and whatever. But yeah, I agree that it's definitely that these people were very trusted by Joy Boy, and that's also why they are Ancient Kingdom related, or I mean Ancient Weapon related and Kingdom.
Because it would be crazy too, because you're looking at it from the kids' point of view too, right? So it's like, they probably had spent some kind of time. Like I would imagine, because of how long ago this was written, they at least knew about Joy Boy and all that, especially for the way that the Elbathians have basically talked about Joy Boy and Nika and just like the different personalities and all that. So it's possibly the thing where they actually saw at one point in time Joy Boy was with those three in particular, because that's specific for Oda to show that. Otherwise, probably just showing one or two. But the fact that he showed those three, those are the most important people probably to Joy Boy during that whole crusade that they went on in the Second World.
Yeah, actually, I actually really like that idea that like they are like these are like his best allies in a way. I actually really like that.
And if you want to flip it to like Third World as well, Dak and stuff, it's like you imagine like Colin would almost in some ways kind of like mirror it in some degree, because like I don't know, I mean you and I have seen it throughout the chapters and stuff and through the community that like people like the idea that if we eventually finally get that cabin boy, it's probably going to be Colin. So but imagine if like Colin is going to be that kid who drew the thing, is seeing this literally through the eyes of what's going on in the Third World. I think that would be such a cool parallel.
I'm a big fan of that. I want Colin to go ahead and get on the boat. I'm ready.
Yeah.
All right, let's go ahead and try to just get through the rest of naming the rest of the things over here on the right, just to get that knocked out, because there's like a million things on the left.
It really is. I can't wait.
I was literally about to start putting some names. I'm like, you know what?
Yeah, there's like a specific one too. I think it's so bad if people are talking about, but we'll go into them after.
Yep. All right, so this let's just say people giving up souls.
I would say are stealing resources from them.
Soul givers, something like that.
Yes, stealing power from Earth Core, which is something like that will work. I think that's fine.
And those specifically are 19 people too. So I mean, like OG world government or OG, social dragons.
Yeah, I'm gonna put Ancient Kingdom. Oh wait, I can't spell anything today. I won a spelling bee once. I promise.
You're just too excited about the chapter.
Actually, I forgot the trophy. I still have the trophy from
That's
7th
crazy.
grade. I meant to put it. I meant to put it back there. I found it the other day.
So anyone comes to your credentials, you'll be like, "Yo, but I won that. Did you?"
Yeah. I also have my my marathon medal there too, so I can put those back there. So anyone, ran the Columbus Marathon. Don't recommend it, but.
I don't recommend the Toronto one either. Don't worry.
Okay, yeah, my feet were swollen for like 4 days. Like I could barely walk. And I did train. I was running all the time, and my feet never felt like that. But dude, once you hit 26 in one sitting, I mean, dude, I can't believe humans did that on the regular. Or like I don't know about running 26, but we used to travel dozens of miles. You know what I mean? Back in the day. That's why we evolved to top of the food chain.
No facts.
Ancient Kingdom / Old Celestials. I'll just put that. I don't know, something like
or
that.
Or like CDs or something like
whatever. That'll people will under. Oh wait, okay. No, I want you to shrink. There we go. All right, that'll work. And then over here, so I guess this might be the Ancient Kingdom. These smokestacks. I'll put Wano parallel maybe.
Yeah.
Oh, see, like how bad that was. ABC.
Damn.
Yeah, that was bad.
What do you guys think's going on with like the boat down there and the two people? Are they like fixing
on the left side, right?
On the right,
on the left of the buildings right here. Yeah.
I guess like that's maybe like slaves too, like trying to keep it afloat, because even though it's like they're getting the power source and stuff, or what they still need to take care of the foundation of it. So
I'm gonna put slave scientists.
Yeah,
it's like a weird way to put it, but I think people will know what I mean. Like they're just forced to keep. Like remember how Enel got into Arc Maxim and fixed it, but he had other people build it for him.
Yeah.
I feel like this is a similar vibe where like whoever owns this kingdom probably knows all this very well and is a genius, but they also don't want to do the day-to-day work, so they probably have other smart people who are forced to like keep it up and running, I'm imagining. Because like all these gears show it's really there's like a lot of machinery to it. So
you know what's actually hilarious I'm thinking of too right now is just like going back to like Punk Hazard and stuff, because like you know how we saw the interaction between with Caesar the Clown, with Chopper, with Law, and then obviously of course we know his history and stuff with Vegapunk. Isn't it hilarious though to us that we see like how doctors and scientists just don't get along, and that's because the scientists are the ones that are taking care of the foundation of that said building, while the doctors are the ones going out and actually doing the real work and everything. I just like I know it's a we're digging too deep into it. Maybe I'm capping or whatever, but I just find it very interesting that if it is those doctors are providing that source and the slaves are taking care of the groundwork, which is what needs their whole thing to happen. I just find it funny that interaction between Caesar Clown and with Chopper and Law and stuff kind of almost in some ways it's like a very tiny, like back in the day they were not on good terms and there was reasons for that. It's like
that's actually a really interesting way to think about it, because remember like Vegapunk kicked out Caesar because like his the way he did things was unacceptable, and it's like what if I don't even know, like I could see some connection there where like I don't even know, like some scientists were, used to help grow everything, and like they're like these slave scientists, and then maybe other bad ones were just like cast, or it could be even reverse, where like people like Caesar were kept for this, but people like Vegapunk were too smart or too good, and so like they were not used for this purpose,
Yeah, it's too many cooks that were in the kitchen and too many ideologies that switched it up and everything. So, and obviously, of course, Caesar the Clown being the mad scientist and stuff. The other one literally is Doctor Vegapunk. So they don't mingle at all.
For sure, yeah. And I brought this up in my last video too, but dude. We had Buggy at the start of the pre-time skip who used the Buggy Ball, so he made bombs that blew stuff up. Start of the post-time skip, we meet Caesar, make Shino Kuni, another clown who makes stuff that blows stuff up. Guess what? We have a third clown in the story, Dr. Indigo. You know what he does? Blow stuff up. His powers, like in the movie, he had these like green orbs that Zoro was like deflecting, got hit by one, and it blew up. Why do all the clowns make bombs, dude? All of them. Every clown in the story does this, and it makes me wonder if Emu is related to that somehow, because he also blows stuff up, right? But all right, I'm curious what you guys think this angel is. This like little angel by Noah and Zunesha. Who is that?
What's we see that one again?
I'm moving my cursor. I don't know if you can see it or not. Here, maybe this will help.
By like the animal.
Under. Yeah, if you look on my screen, it's under Zunesha.
Okay. Yeah. Oh, okay.
It's like in Zunisha's body.
I don't know what it is, but you just get Bible vibes for like the actual Noah.
Yeah,
the
like they took all
like
the
trying to save everyone.
Stuff.
Yeah.
So for crazy enough, that's kind of like where I also want to jump into the thing with Big Mom and everything, because now that we're seeing like this is the Harley, the Mural and stuff for it. Big Mom 1000% got her inspiration for uniting all the race and stuff within her family through seeing the Harley and everything, right? So, but obviously the difference being is that once her mind was completely ravaged because of the memory of what she did to Caramel and those kids, the vision became blurred and then became something very, very dark inside of a book where it kept other people and stuff. But I would imagine this is exactly what her whole inspiration was. As somebody there was like, you know what, everything is going down the tubes. We got to save all these people as much as we can, which eventually I would imagine all of that was what led to the second world forming, because if that destruction at the hands of the serpents and everything had happened, nobody should have survived that. Like we're not even talking about a second North Third world without that being the case. So, but I would imagine that's what probably Big Mom saw originally. Like, oh my gosh, all these people uniting and everything and all that, and then dark things happen to her, and then here we are.
And tying to that, like the idea that, I mean, Big Mom wanted like a country where everyone gets along, and we even saw her do that with animals, right? Where like the bear and the wolf were fighting, and she's like, well, I just wanted them to be friends. We see down here like all these animals are here, right? And this is definitely a Noah's Ark reference, because like they put 2 of every animal right on Noah's Ark during the flood. And we also know that there was a flood during the Void Century or whatever from the ancient weapons. And so I guess part of me is wondering, like, maybe that's like saving all these different races together on the Noah. Like for what we know about the Noah, it's supposed to be the fishmen who get on it and get saved.
Yeah.
But I always thought that was a little weird because I get it in the sense of like getting all the fishmen together away from Fishman Island, but they can also like breathe in the water and like swim. And I'm not telling them to swim all the way from the bottom to the top. I'm sure they'd get really tired. But I'm just thinking like the ship might be more so for the people, right? Like the actual normal humans, minks. I mean, they have Zunesha, but whatever. All these like animals, like all these things that aren't fishmen, they might actually need, like, even though the fishmen have been, enslaved and just not treated very well in the One Piece world, I think it might flip on its head where they're the ones who have to go save everybody, right? Like they're gonna have to be merciful and save the world at the end, and that's kind of what we're seeing is like, like whenever the next flood happens, like we see here, like all those races are gonna have to get on the Noah and escape, and it might be Zunesha that pulls it once it gets to the surface. Like it has to be pulled by the Sea Kings at first to get from under the ocean. But once it gets up there, I mean, it might just be Zunesha that pulls it, and that's why we're seeing them together. Maybe.
Yeah, precisely, yeah.
I just had a crazy thought. So, do you guys think the angels or the angel races came from the moon? Like that's their original planet?
You mean angel
Like
race as in? Oh yeah,
Sky
yeah,
Queens?
yeah, definitely.
So, but what if in the first world, like everybody lived on the One Piece planet, and then they all tried to like leave with the arcs and everything, and the only people that escaped were the sky races on the Arc Maxim, and then they went to the moon to kind of like recuperate, and then they came back down when they ran out of resources. Do you think that could be possible? So like the first world, because we know they came back 1100 years later, right?
Right. Well, they came back 1100 years ago from the current, at least 1100 years ago.
Yeah.
We don't actually know when the exact date, but Robin was like, these are at least 1100 years old, which,
Yeah.
knowing Oda, it's probably exactly 1100. But
Because it's just weird why there's an angel down there. Like,
But also, I'm
with the
thinking
Noah.
too from a scarier standpoint, they're more sad than anything else. Is like, what if that's like the original form of the Lunarians? Because like the only one that we have seen so far was King, and obviously King has more black wings than we saw.
Right.
But like, there's always a possibility that because of what happened to the people back in the day, I mean, granted, he's the only person that actively we know is still around that is sporting that race. So if let's say his people originally had angel-like wings and they fell into the darkness consumes the light. What is a very light color? Or white, right? So it's like, imagine like they were literally engulfed. So he would have had his original white wings as a Lunarian, but unfortunately that ended up not being the case because of whatever happened with his people and stuff. And then it's like almost like a genetic and stuff. Like it's very tough. I don't want to ever compare it to what happened in World War II and stuff with Hiroshima and everything, but it would not shock me because again, a lot of authors have made ties to stuff in history with different things and different stories and all that. It's something to keep in mind. Possibly that's what happened with the Lunarians. It was some kind of incident, and then they eventually led like radiation. Basically, to put it like in a nutshell, it's radiation. I would say that, but that's the original form.
Yeah, and I like that because the thing that I've always found interesting about the Lunarians, and this actually now I'm thinking of a lot of different theories, but the one thing about the Lunarians that I thought was always really interesting is like even though their name ties to the moon, the fact that they have like black wings and control fire, that's more like a hellish thing, right? Like they're from the underworld kind of. Like it's a very interesting flip of dynamics there. And what I'm wondering now is, now that we have this context that people seem to be going down to like Earth's core and taking power or whatever, and we see this parallel with the moon, and I brought up at the very beginning, maybe the moon also had like a molten core that they took power from, and that's why they ran out of resources. What if the Lunarians are from the moon? They're just from inside the moon, and that's why they're like that. And so like they didn't even have to like come out or do anything until people started tapping into the moon's resources. Or conversely, they could have been just from the Earth's core originally, right? Or like Laz is saying, maybe once people got down to the Earth's core, then they started being affected by that radiation, or they just evolved into that environment because they're stuck by the core of the Earth. Like if you don't adapt, you're just gonna die. Like you need to start getting tough, right?
Yeah.
And so
they
maybe that's how
can survive the harshest environments. So Earth's core has to be crazy.
Yeah, exactly.
And so what if they were used essentially, like, what if all these people who are going up and down, like, these are the people that eventually became lunarians?
Oh my god, I love that.
That's the thing.
Yeah,
And then
I love
to
that.
mention also too, because King of the Wildfire, Hellfire, I think with his name and stuff, just
his
very
name.
interesting too, right? We know what the flame and stuff. Is that only because of him, because he's the only Lunarian we've seen, or is that something that, like, think about it, the original power source could have been right in front of our eyes this whole time during Wano, looking at King, whereas like back in the day, it could be too that the Lunarians, they had that power source originally, and that they had to come out from hell and become angels.
Yeah,
there's so it's I don't know where Oda wants to go with it, but there's a lot of coolness that could happen.
Yeah,
I got another
Oda
connection
set
to that
himself
deck.
up so well, but go ahead.
Yeah.
So, if you just want to show the picture again, what you were just saying, if those humans went down to the earth to like, and they were like mining or getting resources, do you think that could somehow like connect to the Amber Lead and how they all became white?
Oh,
so like, if they were like humans
God,
that kept going down and then they eventually changed.
Yeah.
Well, and I like that. And let me throw in one other thing is, so the thing with Flevens is like that was a very, like the white lead was a very valuable resource, only found on one island. It was dangerous, blah, blah, blah. Well, tying this all back to Wano again with like these smokestacks and Pluton and all that. Remember, Wano also has important resources, right? They have, they're the home of Sea Stone originally, which that can be remade. So like that's still really important, but like Vegapunk's figured out how to do that in other ways and stuff. But the thing... But the thing that hasn't been touched on that much, and lately, the last like week, I feel like I've been talking about it more than ever in my life, is liquor iron ore. That was not that's like a plot point that's been lightly brought up, but hasn't been really focused on. It's actually only been mentioned once that I can find, which I was like, what the heck? But we know that it comes from Wano because the weapons in Dressrosa were made with liquor iron ore. We know that because the Revolutionary Army took those weapons, and Dragon's like, oh, have you ever heard of this? And we never heard of anything more about it. He just mentioned it. But then if you go back to Wano, Orochi is talking to Cypherpole, and he's basically like, "Oh, now that the Joker lost, you got to come to me directly to get your weapons or whatever, right?" So like it just shows that what Doflamingo was doing in Dressrosa was like he was like an in between for the government, and so we know that they want those weapons that are made with liquor iron ore. Now the question is, what the heck is liquor iron ore? What does that mean? What does that do? Well, all I can say is that it probably comes from like the lower parts of Wano, like you have to go mine it or whatever, right? And like maybe tying to this, like there's, kind of like the white lead, like you said, maybe that was just like a valuable resource that they had to get. We also know the poneglyphs were made in Wano, and I'm wondering if there's a tie between all that, like pyrobloin and liquor iron ore makes the poneglyphs, and maybe that's also what the red line's made of, and maybe that ties to all this together. Like, I don't know. Otis cooking.
I like that a lot. Just the fact that there's an angel down there, and I feel like, would it have been too telling if we're right and like Oda drew the people coming up as angels? It'd be like, oh, that's what's happening.
Yeah.
I don't know.
And one other thing I want to mention, because like I did feel it was weird that like we saw a person with wings down by the Noah, because like, well, that's a fishman thing. Like they should be in the sky.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yeah.
But it's probably, if it is a sky race person, it's going to be a Birkin because they have really big wings like that.
Yep.
And I'm going to pull up this panel. Oh, wait. Well, that's really big, but that's okay. Remember in Fishman Island when they were talking about, is the Noah okay? And they're like the ship is in a terrible state. Do you think it'll be do you think it can be fixed? Is it still usable? Who knows? Our only hope is the skills of that clan, and we don't know who that clan is yet. And if the Birkins are from the moon, where it's high tech, I've always thought the Birkins are probably really smart. I think I might have mentioned that earlier with Arc Maxim.
Yep.
And what if that person is from the clan? They went and built the Noah for them to help save them, right? Because like the Birkins would be smart enough. It's like, hey, let me save you guys, right? Like we got to build you a massive ship to save you. I think that's a decently likely option.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I like that a lot.
Yeah, I'm ready for
even in the picture, Oda kind of drew the ships very similar. They have that like rainbow.
The lines.
Yeah.
He could have just drew the. I mean, I guess it has it in the actual story, but
yeah. No, I like that because the fact they're like hyping up that clan, and we also know that the Birkins are gone, right? They got their island deleted by Enel, so it's like they can't come back other than the ones that we have. And that also, then I got to bring this up one more time. If that is the Birkins and Enel, is really smart because of that, and so he did know how to like build the Arc Maxim. What if he has to help save the Noah at one point, like just flipping the arcs, right? Like going from one to the other. I think that would just be really cool, just to. Not that I want Enel to be a totally good guy, but I would like him to be strong-armed into helping us.
Yeah.
You know?
I like that.
It's like, I don't like you, but I don't like them more, so the enemy of my enemy is my friend.
Yeah, I can't be God if these people kill me, so...
Yeah, he just sees Emu, this guy's God, I'm God. And then he like just tries to save them. I don't know.
Exactly.
Also, just the last thing on the Noah's Ark and stuff, because it's just literally clicked in my mind, and I know, Doug, we're going to talk about more on this hopefully in due time, but you know how with Rouge, you know, on the SBSs and stuff, they ask him, what is the animal reference to him, like the resemblance if he had in the real world, and they said it's an elephant.
Oh, that's
now,
huge.
Now,
that.
Yeah, and now mention he's supposed to be depicted as a burqa, and we see him right there afterwards with, you know, there's an elephant there right there. Listen, Oda, if you don't put him in Elbaf, we're gonna have problems.
Wait,
what if your Rouge is the one to fix the Noah?
I'm
down for that.
Wait, wasn't Zunesha's like favorite snack like Sky Island apples or something?
Yes.
Was that her?
Yes.
Oh,
Yes.
I like that.
Yeah,
Well, I mean,
I love that.
And where was the last time that we saw Rouge in the story and stuff on Balloon Terminal? What is that? A Sky Island.
Yep. And you know, Weatheria has also become a lot more important in the story, and Haradas is a Birkin as well, and that's another Sky Island. And I'm just thinking like, Birkins are coming back, man.
And not to mention too, you remember the talk and stuff with Enel, where it's like somebody stood up to him a long time ago and everything, and they were defeated, and people assumed that person was a Rouge. So like, was he the Mad Monk for testing God and stuff? Like, there's so I'm telling you, that backstory is gonna hit different, man. Because we're getting Enel back in the story too. Like, he is coming down there and giving us that history lesson.
Facts. He's gonna look at this mural and think about the murals he saw and be like, oh my god, guys, like.
Yeah, look at
I know so much shit. Now. But all right. I do need to get out of here somewhat soon, so we're gonna keep moving through some of these things here.
Mm-hmm.
So I think we talked about this probably being Sulong up here. This thing. I'm just gonna put Sulong. I think people will get that. Now I do want to bring up this whale. All right, I'm the whale guy, so we gotta talk about this, and I do have a comment that I want to bring up from none other than the lurking legend himself, Vex. He was wondering, do you think the whale at the top of the mural isn't actually flying, but it's falling? Because maybe the world got turned upside down. We see water droplets surrounding it, which could be rain, but it could just be the seawater as well. The entire mural reads a lot differently if you flip the y-axis upside down. Just an interesting thought. And Vex, I love that. I think you're actually cooking, because there's two parts to this. I like the idea that the world got flipped upside down. I'm trying to think of exactly how that would work physics-wise, because even if it's like a pole shift, like it's not like the water would... I mean, if it happened really, really fast, then maybe like the water could slosh enough to make a bunch of stuff fall out. But like, you would almost have to like flip gravity instead. You know what I mean? To make this happen. Like, I guess I just try to think the physics of it, and I'm not really sure. But I love the idea nonetheless.
Yeah,
and the other thing I want to mention, I guess I should bring up this this picture from the Enel cover story. I thought I had it up here. Maybe I don't. Because there was a whale or a whale-like thing on Enel's cover story, right?
Yep.
And I want to bring it up because I feel like it wasn't animated, so it's not like anybody even knows, or not nobody, but a lot of people don't know this thing is here. I found it finally.
Yo, so there it went to Lost History. So, there you go. Okay.
There you go. So see that thing in the back?
Okay.
Who is that? What are we Oda? What are we talking about?
That's Big Dog, man. Like
that's my guy. Look how happy he is too, bro. He's not worried about a single thing in the world. I'm telling you, he doesn't.
He's so locked in.
No, for sure. And he's also building something. I'm like, hey, wait, Oda, what are we?
No, if you read, why are they trying to get to the moon ruins? Like,
bro,
who are these guys?
Could you imagine they're trying to build their own version of the mural from like the first part and stuff with the building and everything? Like could it be offspring of the Hell Serpents?
Oh, I like that too.
You know what I mean? Like, because imagine we saw that already back in Skypiea, right? With the
Yep.
Kamigashi and everything, right? And then we saw the little one, right? So it's like this is probably that too. I mean, granted, it would be insane too if you see a connection with the Kamigashi and this and the Hell Serpent. That would be something.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I definitely think I don't know. There's like the fact that we see this blue snake-like thing, and then the Shandorians we know worshipped a blue snake-like thing, and then Kaido was also a blue snake-like thing. I'm like, hey, what is going on?
Yeah,
Like-
and you can also see the detail too on the top of its head too, Dak, as well. It looks like little green little bits over there and stuff as well. Kind of almost like islands, and like
Yeah.
the color shape being of water.
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
It's like he's the Grand Line.
Yeah, it's,
And then you think about the red line, which obviously blue and red are often
Opposite
depicted as like
colors,
opposing
yeah.
colors.
Yeah.
And then if he's the Grand Line and he's the ocean, then you have the red line being perpendicular, so you have like the two dragons, two whales, two whatever.
Yeah. Dude,
Okay.
this author's something else, bro. He's something else, man.
Oda is literally insane, like in the best way possible. You know,
Yeah.
like the amount of connections are just unreal. So I did go ahead and throw in the Joy Boy / Nika thing on here because I think that's super obvious. I don't even know if we really have to talk about that very much. Here, this is a Lunarian.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Because they're shaded in, they got the fire on their head. They're also coming from the sky. So going back to the space whale thingy, again, we just saw a whale on the moon. So if it's not the world flipped upside down like Vex said, well, the whale's coming down with a Lunarian who's supposed to be from the moon. Also, guess who else is next to this whale? Sulong, also connected to the moon. So we got all these moon-related guys potentially coming from the sky. So I don't even know. I don't even know. I don't even know what to say. That's just like the craziest thing. This right here, I've heard a lot of people say Kuma and Bonnie. Do you guys agree with that?
Oh, I thought it was the
I thought the Kucha Pirates.
Amazon.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's
I
what I
thought it was
thought.
them. Yeah.
Right here, this one, because you
Yeah.
see you have a.
Looks like their ship.
I guess it could be. I'm going off the flag. You know what I mean?
Yeah. The flag itself, I don't know. I feel like it is the Kucha Pirates. That's the first thing that came to mind to me. And maybe the bottom one would probably be closer to Kuma and Bonnie.
This one down by Frankie's left hand. I only see one.
So, by the foot of on the one where Loki, the one that's supposed to be depicted. So underneath
this
the
one you're
pirate
saying?
yeah, because it feels like one with a father, daughter, and stuff. Whatever, like.
I'm pretty sure this one is
Isn't that Wano?
Wano, yeah.
Yeah.
Because you see the little like ninja star on the back.
Yeah, okay, that makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah, and also see the hairstyle, like how it's like that elongated top knot thing, right? Yeah, so I think that's Wano Samurai. And so that's why I was leaning Kuma and Bonnie is just that symbol, because Bonnie had the what's it called? The like that necklace.
Yeah,
and also Kuma had the thing in the church.
Mm-hmm.
I guess the other one it could be is down here, but this one we see like a pink. Well, I guess they colored it pink, so that I shouldn't really take that into account. But we see like a person with long hair in the front, and I guess that could also be Kuja. So I'm gonna put Kuma, Bonnie, or Kuja. Why don't I just put all that? I think that'll be fine. I think it's probably one of the two there. And I don't really know what that would mean other than just Oda just putting in a cool little sentimental thing. You know, like I'm not sure. Because, like, they're the only one with that flag, right?
Yeah.
And so I don't know what that really would mean as far as, like, why these other ones don't have it, or...
Yeah.
Maybe, like, these people are just exclusively Team Nika, and everyone else is joining for their own interests.
Could it also be Nika's marking, too? Because, I mean, we haven't, like, gotten, like, a thing that shows us, so, like, this... If you see this mark, you know there's Joy Boy, you know that's this Nika...
Right.
So supporters, I guess, maybe too is another one you could think on.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because I do get what you mean by like the front is like 3 parts to the front, so it's like that could be the Kuja ship, but so yeah, that's interesting. I mean, it's one of the two for sure. And then I guess down here, do you guys have any thoughts on these 4 ships? These are the ones I really don't have a good
Grand Fleets. I would just say like just like put everything together, be the Grand Fleets.
Yeah.
I mean, that one guy's got like the God ribbon. I don't know what that's about.
Yeah, that always confused me. I don't even know what that... I don't know. If anybody watching has some ideas for this, please let me know.
Let us know.
Because this is the one where, like, whenever I look at them, there's, like, no... Like, other than that little thing that looks like the Hagoromo scarf, there's, like, no really deciding features.
Yeah.
So I'm not really sure.
Got the Neptunians or the sea. there.
I'm gonna put Tentata real quick.
Yeah,
just 'cause
Tentata. Yeah, that was the one that upset me. That people were like, "I don't. What the hell?" I'm like, "Come on, are you serious? You can't tell this Tentatas. They're important too. Like, damn it."
Yeah.
They hooped their green for what, bro?
The most obvious.
It's the most obvious one in my mind.
Yeah, like come on.
But yeah, this fish. So you guys, who said
Probably Sea
Neptunians?
King. Yeah.
Yeah. I'll put Sea Kings. People know that better. But I agree. I've seen some people say that could be Jinbei, which I don't necessarily totally disagree with. But I feel
That's
like
what people were saying Jinbei was.
Yeah,
I remember people saying that. I'm like, where is he?
I would have accepted him as the whale, but then it's like, hey man, like
yeah. I mean, I don't know. I don't know if we need Jinbei specific, because these are probably like just general representations of things. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, Nika's super obvious, but like I think they're kind of just more general. So I mean, this is Poseidon. We all know that one. That one's super obvious too. Paste layer style. There we go. So that one's Poseidon. I guess I'll put Tentata a little bit lower so they know. Let's go over to this guy. So this is Loki / Ancient Giant for sure, right?
Yeah. If I had to go and put an actual name, because we've yet to get it from the Elbathians and stuff, like Odin, like the Odin, like of the Vikings and all that.
Like that was his name back in the day.
Yeah, Odin. Yeah, because I mean, Odin loves to play around with like, oh, we have this character's name, but in actuality, that's what it means. But yeah.
Yeah, no, I like that. I think Harudin is likely going to be the current Odin, because he has like Odin's almost at the end of his name, right? It's Harudin, but it could be Harodin also.
Yeah.
And then this, do you feel like that's a mink, like a regular mink? Like the fact we have Sulong throws me off a little bit. With this one.
Very. It does, yeah.
Like I don't know who else it would be.
I don't even know, to be honest. Like I'm trying to think, like, because the main one would make more sense on the top. Yeah, probably new race we haven't learned about yet.
Yeah, maybe. And then this is, I would say, like just the regular giants.
Yeah,
like over here, Elbaf giants or whatever. Yeah.
See that Loki giant definitely looks like Loki, but why is he so much bigger than the other giant?
So because ancient giants are bigger.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And he has ancient giant blood, or like he's showing the horns. They technically all have it, but I think that's just a stand-in because the ancient giants are bigger.
Yep.
Actually, I'm also going to throw this in there. I'm curious if you guys have any thoughts. Maybe this guy could also be Ors.
Yeah.
Oh, the original Ors. Yeah.
Yeah. I think
that's what I first thought, but he just looks so much like Loki, because like it looks more like a helmet than
For sure. Yeah. It definitely looks like Loki. I think that's what we should be thinking, but if they're related, I mean, Loki was introduced the same way. Like this,
yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah, this could be a future version where it's Loki, but maybe the past version who went through the same thing, that was Ors.
Yeah, and he was like inspired by him, or like literally, like just probably was inspired by the guy.
Have we gone through all of it? Have we named everything?
I would say for the Frankie one, because it's like obviously he could be looking at something, so maybe we could put a prediction one of like the Straw Hat. Pluton, they could be looking at, if we're assuming the other things aren't what we think they are.
Straw Hat wearer / past Usopp / past Noland / past Usopp plus Luffy, because I think it could also be Oda could make it where he combined those, like really there's a kid in the past who emulates both. Because like I think Noland emulates both Usopp and Luffy already, right?
Well, the kid is pretty artistic in the fact they're able to draw all of this. So could they have drawn themselves on the tree?
That's why I hope it's Usopp, because if
and then that's their hat that we see that's in Mary Joie. I mean, that'll be crazy.
And he's keeping it so that because like the prophecy will get messed up if he doesn't ever gets the hat back. Oh, dude, that's crazy.
Yep. So imagine all those Elbathians who see that hat. It's like, hold on a minute. I'm aware of that thing. We know where it's from. Like,
wow.
Yeah.
Dude, guys, this was seriously one of the craziest moments ever. Even in my reaction, I've had a couple people comment like very appropriate reaction, Dak. Like we all felt the same way, because like whenever I saw it, I'm just like speechless.
Yeah,
I'm like. My face is like 2 inches from the screen. I'm like, Oda, what am I looking at right now? Like, you didn't do this. Like, there's no way this is. This was monumental for the community.
Absolutely.
Concerned.
This awakened a lot of like good feeling for people who who've read this series and we're not talking like someone like that was like yesterday they just caught up with the story, but more so like if you've been following this series week in, week out, let's say for the last 10, 15, 20 years or so, and you've been following all these theories and ideas, watching on, reading on forums, watching the YouTube videos, the people that we follow like back in the day and stuff, and now getting to this moment, this is for all of them, honestly.
Yeah. Yep.
This is like telling us, like, people say like, oh, the plot has lost interest or people are not as invested in stuff. This right here is to wake y'all up.
Yep.
That this story right now is still great. All the chapters I've been saying, it's still great. Now we've gone another level. So it's not going back to zero. We're past the infinity symbol at this point, man. We're above and beyond.
Yeah, Elbaf is surpassing. I shouldn't say surpassing my expectations. I should say meeting, because I've always been hyped and been like, Elbaf's gonna be my favorite arc, and this is the kind of stuff that I was like, this is what I had in mind. I'm
just more mind blown. Like, because it was crazy because I read the text before I scrolled down and saw the mural. So I'm like, okay, well, I'm getting this thing, whatever, cool. And then I scrolled down, I'm like, huh? That's where the real, I'm like, what the heck is this? And the fact that this man said, I'm not going on break. Nah, bro, listen, 11:39.
Oh, yeah.
We're out here, bro.
This is crazy.
Literally. I can just imagine Oda, like, drawing this and having, like, the biggest smile on his face, because he just knows how, like, it's such a reward for us, you know?
Yeah. Like, oh, my God.
This was just, like, this was so good, this whole chapter. I think I did have a couple other questions I just wanted to run through, just because I didn't find a good chance to bring them in. But yeah, so actually I did want to ask this at some point. What do you guys think those little star things are? So I know we talked about it could be, people bringing up like the power from the core of the earth. It could be their souls or whatever. But like the fact they're holding it makes me feel a little weird. And also, I'll bring that question back up in a second. But also, you'll see that same energy, like that stuff they're holding, it's found on the left at the top. Right?
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So I'm curious what you guys think is going on there. Like, for one thing, I guess first off, do you think it's actually like because we know from Vegapunk and Kuma's discussion that there's like the 21 grams of soul, like there's an actual physical mass amount of your soul in One Piece, which is like, that ties to like some stuff from the real world as well. But do you think it could be that, or did they literally just, is it like is it equivalent of York taking part of the Mother Flame, but not the whole thing? Is that what they're doing? They're taking part of whatever is from the core of the earth, like the level up from the Mother Flame, I guess.
Summoning on people and everything, yeah.
But then also, why do we see it over here? Is that like an indication that it's being used against the big bad? Like we gotta, like we're gonna have to use people's souls to beat Emu or something? Is that, or Blackbeard even?
Well, if you think that's Blackbeard, I mean, he's got the 3 souls, That's what people think.
Yeah. Oh, and there's 3. Oh, that's
the 3 head skull and stuff. Yep.
That's crazy. That's crazy. Cliff, buddy, you really like that theory, didn't you? I know.
I think it could honestly be like one and the same. Like maybe the core of the planet has a soul somehow.
Right.
So it's a power source and it's a soul, because that's what I think the Ancient Kingdom's power source was. It could be some kind of soul that just is so powerful. It's like endless,
It's a life force,
yeah.
That could be the true Earth God in a way. Where like the Earth God, like right? Because the Sun God, like whenever you believe in the Sun God, like it gives you like that hope, and like we see with Bonnie, she's able to go in Gear 5. Obviously, she has a devil fruit, but you know what I mean. Like it gives people that hope, like that extra layer of will to keep going. And I wonder if it's a similar thing where like if you literally took, like if you were to take Luffy's soul and turn it into just a power source, you'd probably be able to do exactly what these guys are doing, right?
Yeah.
And like just keep taking from it, because it's like it's unlimited, or it feels unlimited compared to what people are used to, because they're so strong. So it could be like there's a god from the past who's just like that, and that's why it's the Earth God. Maybe the story is also that Earth God like gave up their life so that people would have power. Like they willingly did that because they're like, well, I'm the one who has all this power. I want you guys to be okay. Like I'll do this.
Yeah.
And then maybe they figured it out, and that's why it's forbidden. Is like the Earth God might have been like, okay, you're not supposed to actually go and take it. You're just supposed to let the Earth like live on its own and be in harmony. You're not supposed to tap into it, right?
That's why the sea serpent was awakened, probably to get the souls back or whatever.
The detail around it though is so interesting to me, where the Emu Blackbeard thing is too, because again the whole world went dark and stuff and went into the second world. But what if it's because Emu actually was able to like consume like the serpents, right? So then because of the background around it is like almost like hell flame, and it's almost like they have to jump into hell to try and stop that thing. It's kind of like where it comes off for me. So it's like, yeah.
And it's crazy. Just the more I think about that kind of inversion, like you have Emu at the top, who's like, you know, supposed to be like the underworld guy, like the evil guy, and he's coming from the sky. And then if we're going to hell to get power to beat that guy, it's like we're inverting that, and it goes back to the idea where demons are good guys in One Piece and gods are bad guys typically.
And I also wanted to point out this. So there's a show I watched that just finished up not too long ago. It's called His Dark Materials. I don't know if the name's ever come up before, but the way they classify demons and stuff, so they call it daemons, which are supposed to be like the normal. I guess like the like nicer way of calling it, because just calling someone straight up demon, it's just like it's bad. So like they call them daemons instead. So it's probably, I think it's the A and E's just flipped around or whatever. But yeah, they also could do something like that where like the daemons are like the good people and stuff, and then the people classify them as demons. They just flip the wording around, which is probably going to be a trait that the world government and like Emu and them are all very familiar with doing, because they've been trying to hide as much history as they can from the world.
Yeah, I like that. Always
going back to what last year said. If they are fighting in the underworld, it would go back to what Vex said about the whale coming down. If they're fighting in the underworld, the whale would be coming from the ocean, so maybe that's where the water and stuff.
Because it'd be above, right? Because it would be in the water, and if you're under the water doing stuff, that's interesting. Actually, I didn't even think of that, because it could be we're just looking. It could also be like, what if the flood receded like very suddenly, and then the whale's falling down because the water is, like,
I like that. Yeah. The water just gets redistributed.
Yeah. Like if the red line disappeared today, like if Law just shambled the red line like into space, the water would immediately just fall down. You know what I mean? Like the water levels would just deplete like immediately. So actually, I kind of like that. And then everyone's coming down to finally fight the hell related guys, because now that the water's gone, like there's no protection. Now that the red line's gone, there's no protection. And actually, holy smokes, guys, I just thought of this. So if we say this is the Eve tree is currently held by the red line, right? Yep. Well, the fact we can see the whole thing means the red line isn't coding it. So maybe that's what we're seeing, is like the world without the red line. Literally, we're like, and also if this is Emu, I think Blackbeard also still works here, but it's like if they're like a sea devil, it's like, well, once you get rid of the sea, there's nowhere for the sea devil to hide anymore, and that's why you see them, right? Like the hell is like you can see hell. There's no ocean to hide in, etc.
Yeah.
I really like that. That's great.
Did you guys also think that monster could be like the beast from the Florian Triangle? Those massive things.
See, that's a tough part, because I feel like it is like something like, I don't know, is it from our world? Because it's like, you know, now that we have this thing with the first world, that's something that's been around for like a long time, or like, you know, maybe because of the multiple creations that kept coming after, like, so the second world, it's like, this is like technically our world, just the stuff that was like blanked out and everything, where these are like things from somewhere else that end up being fused and created over here. So maybe it's like, it could be a demon or something that's eventually formed into the Florian Triangle. So would I say like maybe it's from like our time and stuff? It just came out of nowhere. No, I think it probably is like someone else end up creating that thing. Now I don't know what it could be though. Like if you would see if its appearance, because I feel like it's gonna be very specific. The fact that it had like 6 eyes, 2 in different places.
Yeah.
So
well, we didn't actually see other eyes on it. We only saw 2.
I remember it was like a whole bunch of lights and stuff.
I thought there was like 3 of them.
No, there was 3 like points to it, but only eyes only popped up on one of them.
I gotta find the Florian.
I had another thing.
I have it. I'm about to pull it up.
Oh, you got it? Okay, got you.
I talked about it in my last video, so I have that. There's so many things I talked about in my last video that I was like, dang, I really could have just waited a week and then had even more stuff.
Yeah.
Okay, that's not the right panel. You can't see any eyes in that one.
Yeah. Because I know the anime, they're very specific with that stuff. But then again, like we can't always take the anime as full on canon and stuff, because you know certain agendas.
Yeah. So see here, it's
just the one. Yeah,
it's just the one pair that shine through, and so I think it could be that like those are just hands. You know what I mean? Like.
But it's such a weird design. Like, what the hell could it be, though? Like,
well, as I said in my video, I am beyond convinced this is Emu. I'm 100% convinced.
Oh God.
Oh, what if that's like the body though that Emu can control, like the demon?
Yeah, it's exactly what I think it is. He used so I guess I'll explain the theory real quick. So basically, I can actually bring up the panel. So basically, that happened in, I forget exactly what chapter it was, but in that very same chapter, we got this panel where Kuma is breaking the news that he didn't capture the Straw Hats. And this happens in the same chapter, but after we see the monsters. And so I think when people read it, they're like, well, like the timing doesn't line up. Like Emu or the government didn't hear that Moria failed until after we saw the monsters, so it wouldn't line up. But look at this. They're mid-conversation, right? Kuma already told them before we got here that he failed. They're yelling at him for failing. This isn't him breaking the news. Like it's already happened. And so then you think back to how the monsters appeared in this chapter, in the very same one. The timeline works out where if Emu is listening into this conversation, which that goat is there, and I've always been suspicious of Sengoku's goat. I think it's like Emu's earpiece.
Like a variant or whatever, yeah.
It's like, what if it's like a Denden Mushi with a goat fruit, and so it's like Emu's just always listening to what Sengoku's saying. But anyways, but basically this timeline lines up to where Emu could have heard that Moria failed, immediately used a circle, immediately went over the Florian Triangle, was like, I got to get the Straw Hats, I'm done with them. Because Kuma also mentioned during Thriller Bark that the government was starting to put their eyes on the Straw Hats because of what happened to Enies Lobby and the fact they beat Crocodile and stuff. Like they wanted to make sure they lost. And so I think this is... I think Emu went to the Florian Triangle to try getting the Straw Hats to make sure that they wouldn't continue, but they had just left the fog. And so Emu didn't want to reveal themselves, or maybe Emu can't be in the sun, which I think would be really crazy.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But they also mentioned that ships have been going missing even before Thriller Bark got there. So it's a mystery that's been going on forever that ships went missing. And I'm like, okay, well, Emu might just be protecting that area. Then why would Emu be protecting that area? Well, you know that the Florian Triangle is right next to another triangle, which is the Terai Current, because the Gates of Justice make a triangle, and they're right next to each other in the same part of the Grand Line. It's like, why are there two triangles?
Yeah.
You know?
Well, I just found something very interesting, Dak, that I'll point out from chapter 490, which is where the Florian Triangle and the thing with the building is. If you know, because you have it in the color version, I'm looking at the black and white from the Viz when it came out.
Mm-hmm.
If you show up actually the color one, if you can, just so I can highlight this. Well, the building actually of they're talking with Kuma and stuff, whatever, right?
Okay.
Because this is like an artistic thing, whatever. I can look at it and be like, okay, maybe it means nothing, maybe it could mean something. But notice how one part of the building right there is just so happens just to be darkened.
Oh, yeah.
Everything else like normal, whatever. Could that just be an indicator that if Im was actually out in the seas during the whole thing after, and that's them sneaking right back in afterwards?
Oh, maybe he's mid summoning circle coming back,
right?
Or something,
So,
right?
and notice how the fact that they specifically show the top part there, Marijoa, because why don't you just show the entirety of it? Why don't you show the entirety of the building? It's not the first time we haven't seen this building before, so why is show specifically the top part right there with that spot specifically darkened? I'm just saying,
that is interesting. That is interesting. That's like. Because that's one of those artistic choices where there's like no reason. Like it's not like there was like an overcast on that side of the panel or anything, right? Like
yeah, and that's why I encourage if you're gonna read the black and white, it's not like completely darkened, but you can see the shading is different. I think that's there specifically. Like that was Oda's choice to do that. And when people say like, "Oh, it was just something that was just formed like today." I don't know where in the story and stuff. No, man, it definitely was not. I think he's just picking and choosing his time and then making sure. Listen, I left crumbs behind. Yeah. You chose not to make the loaf of bread until I made it.
All right, guys. I want to go through one other question with you guys, and then we're gonna get out of here. And anybody who's watching, rest assured, we will. I don't know if it'll be this exact group. I'll definitely invite them, but we will be back to talk about everything else that's going on, because I'm sure the next couple chapters are going to be crazy. So this will not be the last time we talk about this mural. But I did want to ask another question. This was the actual top comment on my reaction, and so I felt like we should talk about this because I really liked it. It doesn't have to do with the mural, but there was a lot of stuff that happened in the chapter beyond the mural, but it feels like we all kind of honed in on just the mural. So I want to go ahead and touch on this real quick. Mm-hmm. We saw in the chapter that Shamrock can summon a Cerberus thing with his sword, which was absolutely insane. We're talking about Emu potentially being this giant monster, getting summoned over to Thriller Bark and all this, and seeing him summon the Cerberus thing. I don't know if it's a Devil Fruit sword or if it's a Emu power thing, whatever it is. But Neon Roger brought up the idea that Zoro 3-sword style versus Cerberus 3 blades, which I'm a big fan of that. Right, we'll get Cerberus versus the King of Hell with Zoro. Mm-hmm. Are you guys on that agenda?
I think it's definitely a possibility that we're gonna see Shamrock and Zoro at some point. Whether there's gonna be a result that comes out of that fight, I think at the most we maybe see a standstill or something. Because I'm of the belief now, after what happened in this chapter, the only person I want to see put Shamrock in the ground is Loki. And I'm telling you, the second that guy gets free out them chains, I don't care all the talk Shamrock said, the results will be the same. No, it will not be the same. There is a reason why in that damn mural, there's a guy specifically, whether that's Oars or whatever, that Loki is going to be there at the end of the story as a major ally and a big friend, or just a good like person that they could work with Luffy and that whole thing. And they are going to turn Shamrock into Shamrock because that's literally what he is at the end of the day, man. You attack a guy locked up in chains and everything, you're finished, blood. Like, it's over, bro. The second he gets out the chains, you're done. I don't care, bro. Like, there's a reason why Shanks had to go out there and lock you up for 6+ years or stuff because you were out here moving like a menace. And that's just him just being normal. That was just him normally just coasting. He didn't get to see the whole world. He was doing that madness. So, yeah, Shamrock don't want that work. He been captain.
No. I like how you, I forget exactly what you said, but it made me think, what if Shamrock could also be the shame of rocks? Or something, I don't know. Not saying he is related to Rocks, but the fact we have a guy named Rocks, and we're meeting this guy, I always thought that was weird.
Yeah, I was playing around with some of the shorts literally after the chapter and stuff, and that's been like something I've been having a lot of fun of now, just to like make my correlation stuff to things I talk about, so people don't think I just have like some crazy CT or whatever. But when I made the edit and stuff between me and Loki and everything, I was like, what hashtags can I put other than free Loki, and the Melee Shamrock came to mind. So yeah, it's gonna be Figarland Shamrock until the end of time.
Yeah, dude, the fact he said, like, we got to go for the kids, I was like, look, somebody needs to put this guy in the ground right now.
Bozo behavior, bro. Get him out of here, man.
Well, and the beauty of that is, remember, the House of Lambs used to be on Elbaf, and there's a lot of good theories that the people from the House of Lambs became God's Knights.
Yeah.
Especially the one dude with, like, the mask who has, like, the tube mouth. I don't know what else to call it.
Yeah, the voice on God Valley,
Yeah, exactly. He had a very similar mask. And so I'm like, is that where we're kind of going? Like they're going for the kids, but maybe they don't care because like they've always gone for the kids by like recruiting them to be God's Knights, and so like to them it's nothing to like threaten them because they kind of always do it. Like, look, I'm ready for Loki to put that guy in the ground. That's all I got to say. I'm ready. 6 feet or more.
Well, and also putting into the thing in there as well, because you know how the world government was the one that went to Caramel to get the funds and all that too. We have to believe too. There's a chance that the Figar family had also used them maybe as a backdoor, so that way people don't know that the Social Dragons are the ones that are actually doing this stuff and recruiting members of the God Knights. So they just use the world government as or the Marines as their proxy.
Yeah, that. I'm ready for Shamrock to get cooked. I'm ready for him to get out of here.
Yeah, same.
To answer that question, I was actually looking at it a different way. So, the fact that it's never said that that's a devil fruit power that he has, a Cerberus. I feel like maybe somehow that could connect to Zoro with his Enma. Like Enma has some weird abilities we don't know about, right? It like saps his hockey, and with his connections to Hell, and he saw the Grim Reaper. Maybe he'll unlock some power with his swords, like Cerberus or something, And he'll learn that further from Shamrock.
Well, remember Asura, right?
Yeah.
Like I think that could be where this goes. Is like, I mean, this would be. It reminds me a little bit of like when he fought Hachan, like a little bit, because remember he it was the first time he was outnumbered in terms of swords, right? He's always used to having more swords than anyone else, so he's like, what the heck? And so obviously, like if he used 3 sword style, he'd be matching the Cerberus. But maybe he has to, like that's why he has to use Asura, and maybe he'll learn a thing or two about it by beating the Cerberus thing, because he'll be like, I need more swords if I'm going to beat him, I guess, right, to counteract it, because he has 3 also. And then maybe he goes into Asura, and then maybe the Cerberus like disappears, like because like he gets scared or whatever, and then it's like, what the heck? And then we find out, like Asura is something more powerful than what what Shamrock's doing, maybe. I don't know, something like that. I guess last question I'll go through real quick, just because I really wanted to talk about this somewhere, and we'll do it. It's from Time Lord. Because somebody mentioned this in my stream too, and I really like this idea. Do you think Kaido's Conqueror of 3 Realms move implies that Joy Boy was the man who conquered all the realms? Makes me wonder exactly what Kaido knew and what he didn't, especially after the fire-breathing serpent in this chapter. Because if you guys remember, Kaido, I don't know if I have a picture of it, I doubt it, but he used an attack called I think there was like a couple translations. 3 World Ragnarok, I think, right? I think is what he called it. But regardless, that 3 realm thing, like, okay, well now we see Elbaf has the 3 realms, right? We also see the 3 worlds here. And Kaido, we talked all about this serpent thing, their parallels to Wano and all that. So I don't know. I guess I'm just curious. Do you guys think? I mean, obviously that's some Oda foreshadowing in some way, but I guess my question is, how much do you think Kaido actually knows? Like, do you think that attack name was made because he kind of knows these legends and stuff like that, and he probably knows a decent amount about Elbaf, especially if his dad is Herald, which I definitely subscribe to.
Yeah,
but,
yeah. I think he definitely had to get something from Big Mom at the very least, right? Because Big Mom, because I've sold the belief that her dream came from the Harley and everything. But like, if there was anyone that could have told him about that without having to actually physically be in Elbaf, the person that would tell them that would be Big Mom. And then maybe he did like his own background research and stuff. Maybe he talked to somebody with that kind of key information, and eventually led to him just having that knowledge and stuff. But because of how much he talked about Joy Boy and everything, I think that's kind of where the inspiration comes from, that they were technically a conqueror of 3 worlds. Whether if Nika actually got the dub back then, whether Joy Boy technically did win, but even though history tells you otherwise, because the world government is the one that's on top and stuff. But again, history could flip on its head. What you think is good might actually be bad, and vice versa.
Yeah, I like it that he that Big Mom, because like Big Mom's like a big sister to Kaido in a way, right? And
she's way more knowledgeable than him.
Yeah, she would have known all the Elbaf stuff. So and that could even be where he got the idea, like you couldn't be Joy Boy either. Like he might be waiting for this, this whole thing to come through, and he's just like, I don't even know. He's waiting for that Ragnarok moment, which he knows Joy Boy needs to be here for. And then that makes it really interesting that Kaido would then kind of disappear from the story for a while, like where he's, I think he's going to come back. I don't know what his role will be exactly, but I don't think he's dead. But that would make it interesting that he's like hidden while all this is happening, and maybe he'll come back right at the perfect time to be like, I don't know, tell everybody like, Luffy, you have no idea what the hell is going on. Let me tell you. I think Luffy be like Luffy will be speaking for all of us and be like, Kaido, why didn't you tell me during Wano? I would have loved for you to tell me. But I'm sure Oda will make it hit some way. But yeah, guys. So I think that's about it. Appreciate you guys for coming and helping me break this down.
Of course, man.
Yep.
You guys got anything else you want to say before we head out?
Go peace Ichiban, and if anyone else tells you otherwise, amen. Amen. That's all I gotta say.
If anybody tells you otherwise, go over to the Commodore Laz channel and he'll tell you why that's wrong.
Hey, bro, you want the smoke? I got you, bro.
Yep.
Thank you again, Doc.
Yeah, no problem. Always Sunny.
Appreciate
Anything you want to plug? You want to plug anything?
No, this chapter just made me make like 15,000 scripts for future videos that I'm probably never gonna finish.
Honestly,
so.
that's the beauty of it all. Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I don't know.
yeah.
Literally, bro.
I think this is like your first stream ever, Always Sunny, or like it's not even a stream, but it essentially is, I guess.
Yeah, because this is like a form of like public speaking, and I that's like my greatest fear. So.
Okay, well, hey, you'll get used to it. The more.
Yeah, I mean, you dive in, you get better at it,
Oh, that's the only way.
Yeah.
But yeah, guys, if you guys haven't. Yeah, if you guys haven't checked out Always Sunny's channel, definitely do so. He started not that long ago and has already got some decently big videos. So you can find his link down below. Yeah, for sure. But all right, without further ado, guys, we're heading out. Until next week, we will be back for chapter 1139 for sure. So until then, catch you guys later.